Yeah, but you can see the line.
Oh, true.
Wait, what if I hold it like this? Can you see the line through?
Yeah, but it's hella not super noticeable. Just kind of looks like a...
Maybe I'll kind of position it like this. I don't know if this makes it better or worse.
Just...
like the makeup, yeah.
Alrighty.
It's actually an Irish coffee.
Wow.
All right, everybody, and we are on.
Heyo.
Hey,
We're here.
cheers.
Cheers.
guys.
Cheers.
I feel like my coffee's gonna melt y'all's ice cream coffee.
Let's see.
Let's do this thing.
Oh, it's supposed to be eaten. Actually.
Oh, it's supposed to be eaten.
Dude, what? There's a spoon in there, brother.
I didn't know. It's coffee.
Mix it. Oh,
I was like, heyo.
well, where am I going?
I was gonna say, yeah, you gotta like stir it around and stuff. You're gonna drink it. That makes me so.
Oh,
This is really good.
good.
I'm jealous.
good.
I should have had some of y'all today.
Wow. This is, yeah.
Get a little bit of that ice cream and that and the whippy, and then the coffee.
Wow. Wow. I have nothing else to say. This is just really good.
You don't even eat a lot of ice cream.
I don't. I just
When's the last time you had ice cream?
straight ice cream, probably like...
Jenny's?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That was like January.
Mm.
That's wild.
Mm.
I've had,
Oh
like-
yeah. Usually in Italy they have it with vanilla ice cream. They pour the shot straight into it.
Mm.
I'm
Called
more of a chocolate guy,
affogato.
So
Hmm?
I'm more of a chocolate guy, so I feel like
Me
that's,
too.
yeah.
That's why
that's
I
the
have
way
it with
to
the
do it,
chocolate.
Mm. I'm not the biggest chocolate guy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not a chocolate fan?
No, but I enjoy it I enjoy it sometimes. It's very hit or miss. Like I like
Dude, do you
coffee
like it
as
now?
I do like it now. Honestly, this is pretty good. Like I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying this. I wish that you could like go out and buy this. I'm gonna have to come by your place like every like twice a week and be like, hey, I need
We're gonna have to
hook
start
me up.
showing up to like coffee shops with pints of ice cream and just being like, can you just put the espresso in this and then I'll take care. You give me a plastic spoon. I can just bring my own next time. It's just you pour it in here. We're all good.
You walk in after a while,
Oh,
like there he
man.
is. We already got your thing going.
I'm lap here. So you asked me, and please, before we start, this is Cafe Creatives with, who are you guys?
I'm Evan. This is my best friend Preston. We are this too. Nice to meet you guys.
We will toggle back because I want to know, like, what's your origin story, what y'all do, but you had a question to me about what inspired this,
Yeah, man.
right? Do you know this show called Hot Ones?
Love hot ones.
Mm.
So that plus Jerry Seinfeld has a show called Comedians in Cars
Yeah.
Getting Coffee.
Yes.
And I'm like, shit, that's so cool. Like, I love coffee. I'm a musician. I do videos, and I love talking to people and learning their life story and what inspired them and truly connecting with people.
Mhm.
And I wanted to create a space where it's not a loud bar, you're not a coffee shop, but you
Yeah.
connect with common things, So I took my interest of coffee. I have 2 books about coffee. I went to an online school studying how to make espresso, which is funny. There's a school for it, $10. Barista Hustle.
Yeah,
Barista hustle. That's pretty
It
good.
is.
Yeah.
It is. It's like Netflix,
I
man.
mean, that's literally
wow.
like 2 cups of coffee. That's less than
Yes.
2 cups of coffee, to be honest.
Yes.
That's like,
That's
And
fair.
you learn like the science of it, and it's mental.
yeah, because like, is it like different temperatures and how you like roast the beans and everything? Doesn't that like change a ton of stuff? You like ruin it by being in like 5 degrees too hot or something?
Ooh.
I've heard some crazy stuff about this.
So I'm a baby roaster. So I'm new. I'm
Baby
new at
roaster.
I'm gonna quote you on that one.
baby roaster.
You got
I'm
to
a
put that in
baby
the
roaster.
bio. At Cafe
boaster.
Creatives.
A boaster.
I'm a baby roaster, so
Baby
I
roaster.
just
And
makes
what
fun
that
of
means
babies.
is cut the cameras. Cut the
Yeah.
cameras.
Oh.
You gotta put that
It
in the
just
bio.
occurred to me what that meant.
Pity drops.
Cue some roasting videos here. Okay? Cue some
Yeah.
roasting.
Cue some context.
Yeah, context. I'm not roasting babies at a farm.
So does it like ruin the coffee if it's too hot or too cold or anything?
So, give me a moment to think about that.
Just ruins the bake.
Okay, there are stages of roasting because the coffee bean is green, and also the way you roast it depends on the way it was harvested. So there are multiple types of. Have you seen on like a coffee cherry before? It looks like a cherry, and there are like 4 or 5. There's multiple ways that you can harvest it, so that it can be dried, where they harvest it and they leave it outside and they let it dry and kind of looks like a raisin, and then they get that out thing, and it should taste a little more fruity and stuff like that. There's a way where they put in like this water thing, and then it just takes it out, and then that cherry part or that flesh thing won't dry on the meat on the seed. Sorry.
I can honestly tell you that if you looked me in the eye and you said that coffee came from the sky because birds dropped it, I believe you.
Now, funny fact: there is this special coffee that's eaten by a special cat, and they poop it out. And then
isn't it psychedelic?
It's not psychedelic.
I thought it was like a weird,
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, no,
I'm not
real.
kidding.
I
Jamie.
don't know enough to say you're wrong. I'll tell you that.
No, this is real. Yeah, you can tell we listen to the same podcast.
Yeah, yeah. We'll ask Jamie to look it up.
Yeah. You gotta hear my text tone, dude.
Just funny. And so what that does is their guts apparently like make it less acidic. Mm-hmm. But you know when people complain about, I don't drink coffee because it's too acidic and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of it has to do with the type of bean, how it was harvested, and how it was roasted. Okay. So you can do actually a lot, and you can very specialize what you want that coffee to kind of taste like. Mm-hmm. It's a huge subject. It's mental. When I got into it, I was like, Jesus, what am I getting into?
I feel that. Wow.
Yeah, but that's how it is. Like with anything, I feel we do like. You do videography and you guys work together. How did you guys meet?
So we met in high school. So we both grew up in Dallas, Texas together, and we actually met in gymnastics. Yeah, I was a high school gymnast, and Preston was I'll say it for him because otherwise he sounds like.
Is it a whoop?
Yeah, dude, I love whoop.
Jesus! Whoop whoop! Whoop whoop! Sorry, I call out people randomly in the street and say whoop whoop.
If I had noticed, I would have called out. No, dude,
sorry. That's what's good. Where's Joe Rogan and his whoop?
Are we whooping today?
We whooping?
Okay, Dallas, Texas, gymnastics.
Yeah, so Preston was a pre-Olympic gymnast. Preston did gymnastics for like 14 years, right?
14.
Yeah, and he was super good at gymnastics. So being a high school gymnast, I'm starting super late, right? So with that, the only thing that like our coach ever focused on, he's like, well, what if we got these high schoolers super strong? Because it's a ton of guys ages like 13 through 18. It's just a time for them to build a lot of muscle. And it's like I get them super strong, and then there's no way I could give them the technique and the form down to every detail like these guys that have been doing it since they were like 5 and 6. Oof. But I can make them really strong. So the whole focus for my coach was like, let's get these guys jacked. And so every single day we're doing crazy conditioning. And then we would look over, and you'd be working so hard for months trying to get these skills. I got a nickname in high school based off of a skill I was trying to get.
What was it?
They called me planche boy. Because there's a skill called a planche. It's like a push-up position without your hands. And I tried for years to get it. It took me 2.5 years to be able to do it. And then it was of working every day, not like 2 or 3 times a day, like 4 or 5 workouts a day, 7 days a week, little sessions, long sessions, short sessions, trying to get that skill. And then you'd look over and Preston would be like, oh, I haven't done one in like 3 or 4 years. Let me try it. And he would just like hop down and do the craziest skills. So I like would see Preston at meets, and he was this legend in like our department, because there's 2 different like divisions. You have your high school division, and then you have your club division. And the club division is a private division, and that's where the good guys go, right? Those are the dudes that have been doing it their whole lives, and that's where Preston was. So whenever his high school meets was like if you could take Mike Tyson and every now and then he could have an amateur boxing match. Like it's like it was not fair. It was we were all competing for second place.
What was funny about my school is that I was the only gymnast.
And the team stopped when he graduated, by the way.
Mhm.
It wasn't like
Did
he was
not
just
continue
so
after.
good that the school he went to
Really?
was like, we'll create a gymnastics team because he'll win every time.
We had 4 schools
What?
in
And
the
he
school
did.
district. We had 4 schools in the
Dang.
school district, and we all competed as a team. And
Yeah.
there were, at most, 2 guys on the team and like 7 girls.
Yeah.
So
And
that's kind of what we operated.
That was the only district where the girls were not as good as the guys.
Wow.
For everyone else, the girls were way better than the guys. But it's just because these dudes were all club guys and they were phenomenal. But so I would see him at meets and it would be like, oh my God, that's Preston Eggert. And then he'd like be doing all these crazy routines and I'm up there like, I finally got my double back off rings. I can do this because I was a ring specialist, and I was like, "Oh, I can finally do like a straddle planche." And then Preston would be doing like a full planche to a cross, and then he'd do like a double on his way off, and he'd stick it, and I'd be like, "This guy sucks." So like finally one day at our state meet, I see him up in the stands, and I walk up to him, and my introduction to him, I have the first the first conversation we really had. I have it on camera. Technically, I had like said hello to him in passing before this, but I went up to him with my phone out, filming like a video on Snapchat, and I just went up to him and I was like, "Oh my God, is that Preston Eggert?" And I threw the phone in his face just to kind of see what he would do, and he just went with it. He was like, "I don't know, is it? I didn't study." Just started making jokes, and from that moment on, we became friends and started talking gymnastics. I realized at that time, like I don't think I knew what school he was out of. I don't know if we would have doxed that right now, but like, but it was the same high school my parents went to, and it was like 5 miles down the road from me. So then we met in Odessa, Texas, which is 7 hours west in the middle of the Panhandle, like, literally flat ground, no one's there, and like, yeah, it's like the notoriously a super boring place to be. Love you, Odessa, but like nothing's happening.
You don't got much going for you.
Yeah, man. You can see Lubbock from Odessa. Like, it's like, and it's not close. It's just flat. But with that, we were like, oh, let's hang out when we get back in Dallas, and we hung out. And he was like, yeah, man, I actually do photo and like video work. And I was like, oh, cool. Let's go take some Instagram pictures. And we like met up and like trespassed some construction site as we always did. And yeah, allegedly. And then we.
I like rooftops. I don't know.
Exactly. We went for this photo shoot, and it was at that photo shoot after we were done with it, driving home. He like got a text that was like of a mix of a song that he allowed somebody else to like a family friend to produce for him, and I was like, oh, you make music? I make music. And what was happening was 2 dudes that made the worst music in the world were having a conversation about making music. Because we were just like super early in it. Like the mix he got was horrible, or not even the mix. It was just like a demo.
Yeah.
Horrible, sounded awful. I was like, let me show you some of my stuff, and I like couldn't sing. Like it was, I'd never heard a metronome in my life. Like it was bad. And so we met through gymnastics, got together to do photo and video, and then we were like, oh wait, you make music too. And then we started like, oh, well, you should come over. Let's like write sometime. Let's do this. Let's do that. So like the music thing for us came last, but then that's the thing that lasted.
Yeah.
Like that's like we still like now we live together. We do a lot of gymnastics based stuff. We actually do a lot of like MMA based stuff because that's the athletic endeavor that I pursued post high school and stuff like that.
Nice.
Thank you, brother.
I'm gonna come back to that
yeah,
later.
man, please. But so we do a lot. We still like both of us are fitness nuts. So,
Same.
I was like, especially when it comes to like functional fitness and things like
Nice.
that. So we still work out a lot together and obviously live together and hang out a lot. But the thing that really lasted was like, we made music when he moved to Nashville without me for college. We made music every time he came back. He played piano as I sang to an ex-girlfriend one time. It was I've helped him shoot music videos that look like dog water. He's helped me do the same. We have the thing that has lasted the longest for sure has been based around music. So it was that's not how we met, but that is
There's an origin story.
Yeah.
Nice.
Typically people are surprised that we knew each other growing up and we didn't meet each other out here. but like we've been best friends for a long time.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I can
music
tell. I
fan.
thought you guys were like brothers. Brother from another mother.
Exactly. No,
I
same
mean, you
mom.
never
Basically,
know.
I mean,
you never know.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
Same mom. That's it. I think
That's
this kid's
awesome.
outside more.
I mean,
That's
you look
awesome.
more like my family than I do.
That's true. That's true.
That's awesome. Wow, that's a lot of really cool stuff in there.
Thank you, brother.
MMA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man, I fell in love with that. I grew up fighting a lot. It was like it's just kids fought, you know. I mean, I grew up with brothers, so like
Mm-hmm.
there's that, and then you start going to school, and like if you're willing to fight, other boys are willing to fight, and then like eventually I got myself in enough trouble being like I'll fight anybody, and got my butt whooped a couple of times that I was like I should learn how to do this,
Uh-huh.
and I started teaching my best friends like in my backyard, and I would watch YouTube videos from this guy named Shane Faison, who has a channel called Fight Tips.
Wait, I think I have watched his videos
Yeah,
too.
man, he's great. He's,
Yeah.
and I would
Fight
watch
Tips,
I would
yeah.
watch his videos. Shout out Shane, and I would watch his videos, and I would go like act like I already knew it to my friends, and then we would go train on a tarp in my backyard, in like 110-degree dry Texas summer weather. And then I would like teach them whatever I learned there. So as I started training, I was teaching. So I started
Uh-huh.
coaching and training at the same time, which I fall in love with coaching. I coach gymnastics, I coach baseball, and then fighting, and I still do that on the side now. I still coach a lot of people, but grew up doing that, and then eventually I actually met Shane at a fight in Dallas. And I told him kind of what I'd been doing, and then there's a tryout for a fight team called Black House MMA out in Los Angeles, which is
Uh-huh.
where Shane lived at the time. So about 2 months after I met him, I flew out to LA. I got my first job so I could afford the plane ticket, and I flew out to LA, and Shane let me stay on his couch for like a week
Wow.
and helped me prep for this tryout. And like it wasn't that I was good by any means, but I'd been working really hard, and I was pretty athletic from gymnastics and very strong for my size. At the time at least, and I made good friends, and they were like, "Hey man, you can join the team if you want. You're young, you're smart. These guys whooped your butt today, but like you have potential if you do this." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not moving to Los Angeles." And Kenny Johnson looked at me. He's like, "Why the hell are you out here then?" And I was like, "I just wanted to see if I could do it." I was like, "I've been training in my backyard for like a year and a half. I just wanted to know if I could actually like hang or do something with this if I wanted to."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Well, you got to get down to this gym." It's like, "Who's that?" And he turned to one of his coaches, and he goes, "Who's Vince supposed to fight out of Dallas?" And they go, "Miles Johns." They go, "Where does he train?" And Vince was one of Shane's friends, and he does stuff on Fight Tips. And Vince and I met, and Vince is a friend now as well. He has a Miles Johns. He trains out of this place called Fortis MMA.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in Dallas, and I had never heard of Fortis. It wasn't on Google, it wasn't on Apple Maps, it wasn't like that. They kept everything really under wraps, and I was like, okay, well, I'll go back and I'll check out Fortis. Fortis MMA for a couple of years was ranked one of the top MMA gyms in the world. Fighters Uriah Hall, Steven Peterson, Jeff Neal, Ramiz Brahimai, Damon Jackson, Meishi Sasson. The list goes on and on and on. And the head coach, Saif Saud, and I went there and I was like, "Hey, this is my story with this. I would love to train here." And they're like, "Sure, come train." And I just fell in love with it. Me and one of my best buddies growing up just kind of hopped into that world. And I couldn't shake it. The bug bit me, and I was training every day, and I started having a couple fights. And it was
Dang.
like for a while there, I always said, I was like, "Hey, I will drop this whole fight thing to do music." But like, Preston was off at college at this point,
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff, and then I'd befriended Shane, and I was like, well, if I meet some of these other guys, I'll befriend them. So I did that with a guy named Jeff Neal, and Jeff mentored me through most of my fights and helped me. He whooped my butt for a year until I could whoop other people's butts, and he's one of the best welterweights in the world right now. The top 10 in the UFC, and an absolute killer and a sweetheart of human being. But he really helped me through a lot of stuff, both personal and just through the whole fight game. And then Preston hit me up after a couple of years of that as COVID hit, and we come back, and like there's some stuff we should touch on that happens between what I'm saying, or what I said just happened, what I'm saying now. That's more us based. But he was like, "Hey man, I need a roommate for my senior year at Belmont. I'm moving out in 2 weeks.
Oh
out
wow.
there. So do you want to come? And I was like, fuck, man. I mean, like, I want to go to Nashville, but I actually, like, now I feel like I'm finding a lot of success with this fight stuff. The coach is starting to believe in me. I feel like I'm finding my groove a little bit. I feel like I see a path to great success in this career. And I was like, I don't know. I always said I would trade music for it. And I knew that I loved music more than I loved fighting. And I don't know if that's necessarily the way to say it. I knew that I was made to do music. I believe that God put me here to make music. And that's how I would share words with people and share stories and you know, provide a little bit of hope and all that stuff. I figured it would come through music, not violence, but I enjoyed the fighting thing. But I turned to some of the guys at the gym. And I turned to Jeff, who had poured countless hours into me. And I was like, hey, man, I got this opportunity to go out to Nashville in 2 weeks. And I was going to have a fight like in like 4 weeks. And I was like, in like 2 weeks and like, you know, all this stuff. And I don't know if I should do it. And he had some stuff in his life that had kind of tied him down to Dallas. And he was like, after a bit of a conversation, he was like, you know, what do you love more? He goes, if you could only do one, what would it be? If you could fight, but you couldn't ever make a song again, would you do that? And I was like, no, definitely not. And he goes, okay. He goes, when are you supposed to move? I go, August 1st. He goes, if I see you in the gym after August 1st, I'm going to beat your ass.
Dang.
And I was like, you already do that, man.
That's what a good coach will do.
And
help you make you
eternally
a real coach.
He was always a real one. I remember, like, I mean, I was young, moving out there. I was 19 when I moved, and I was like, hey man, will you like come out and visit? And everyone else was like, yeah man, we'll come visit, we'll come see you. And I was like, will you come out and like visit sometime? And he goes, I'll probably never come out there.
Oh.
And I was like, wait, why? And he's like, dude, it's not that I don't want, I'm just being honest with you. I got like my kids here, I fight out here. He's like, I'm just being honest with you. I'm not gonna try to get your hopes up. And that was something about Jeff I really respected and like took with me. And before it was like, hey man, just like, you know, be transparent with people, be honest, stand on whatever you believe in and all that stuff.
That is very important.
He had this mindset that really helped me. That was, can I curse on here? Is that cool?
Sure.
I was like,
I guess. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I can always bleep it.
Yeah, exactly.
Whenever there was stuff going on, as everybody else was like trying to make a big deal out of it, he would be the one to tell me. He'd sit me down and look at me and go, "Hey man, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck about you or your problems or why whatever you were supposed to do didn't happen. Nobody gives a fuck. It doesn't matter. You didn't do it. You did not make that happen. That's on you. And nobody cares why. People only care about those results." So like with that was something that I took with me and like has helped, I think, us find a lot of success in music. Was like, well, hey man, the why doesn't matter, so you better get it done even on your worst day. But so fighting to me, I watch every UFC fight that happens every single Saturday. My friends know, don't talk to me. Everyone has to come to my place. I study everything. I train people.
Wow.
Preston and I train. We'll be training later today.
Nice.
Like it's something that like I force people to fall in love with because it's
That's
just such
awesome,
an exciting
yeah.
sport. But like that's my story with fighting. I guess one day I want to do the whole like celebrity fight thing, and I probably shit. I always said I wasn't gonna tell this story like publicly, so that when they invited me for celebrity boxing, they would think that I would be really shitty. And go out there and be like, I've actually done this for a while. But yeah, one day we'll win a Grammy, and I'll have the best hands at the Grammys. I could beat up any other Grammy winner. And then
who are you gonna want to fight with? Bruno Mars?
Dude, you would hate that, bro.
I would hate that a lot.
When Preston was a kid,
he's one of my
Bruno
favorite
Mars
artists.
was his dad.
I wanted Bruno to be my dad so bad.
Oh man, that's my favorite production type. If somebody asks me what is the favorite type of music I love producing, it's Michael Jackson, Bruno Mars type of R&B pop, stack a lot of vocals.
So
I love that shit.
You like 24K Magic?
Oh man,
yeah. It's crazy still touring. For
when I'm working,
is he really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
When I'm working out or like jumping rope is one of my biggest things. I listen to one freaking song for 30 minutes, and then I get super tired of it.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I think martial arts is a very big thing, especially in the mentality.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot you can learn from it. It's not about the fighting, but mentality and how you look, confrontation, handling problems and things like that. So you can learn you can do a lot of personal development.
Yeah, man.
And those hard lessons that your coach taught you, like that's very important. Like,
Yeah, man.
like leading a business, handling clients.
I needed
I'll
that.
tell people, I'm not being hired to say whatever you want me to say. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
I shot an artist or a band the other day, and they were just not ready. Like they weren't rehearsed and stuff like that. Like, at the end of the day, and then they wanted to do more. I'm like, you shouldn't do more.
Yeah.
Go back, rehearse.
Cut this.
Don't pay me more.
Yeah.
Spend more time.
Don't pay me more. You need it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean,
because at the end of the day, if you're not being honest with them, then you're doing a disservice also.
Yeah,
And
man.
people should come back to you because you're trustworthy. You want the better return in their investment because that's a better return for you.
Yeah.
I have to sneeze, and it will come later.
And well, you start to develop a confidence in what you're saying that is
Yeah.
an unapologetic confidence to where you feel comfortable saying to people, hey, man, you're not ready for this. Hey, man, this is what you need to do.
And I think that means so much because for a while, when I had partners and things like that, I had to consider other people's opinions. But now I'm like, really, this is what I mean. And I want to really tell you my opinion because I don't want to feel weird about if it's not 100% my thought,
Mhm.
But of course, it matters how you communicate. You can't
Yeah.
just be like, hey, this sucks.
No,
You have to have a good communication skills.
definitely.
Mhm.
So,
You got to know your audience. That's what
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Jeff saying to me the words, hey, man, nobody gives a fuck was exactly what I needed to hear. I think
Yeah.
growing up, I was definitely a really angry kid and I had a lot of stuff going on that was getting to me. So having that like very blunt direction, and of course there's a lot of stuff that led up to that in he and I's relationship to where he could have said just about anything and I didn't trusted him on that.
mhm.
But like, if he was like, hey man, have you ever considered this? Then I would have considered it but never really taken it in.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
knowing the audience and being able to look at me and say, this is a kid who needs to grow up, who is angry at the world, and he needs this advice. I can tell him, hey man, nobody gives a fuck, and that direction was super important. Whereas I've told so many people that exact same piece of advice, but I've said to some of them, hey, nobody gives a fuck, and I've said to other people, hey, I understand where you're coming from. Unfortunately, the reality of the situation is that
That's
people
too
don't
much,
understand.
I think.
It's like well, it just depends who your audience is.
That is
right?
true.
It might
That
be,
is
it might be
true.
too much for you, but it's not going to be too much for that person, right?
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's like being
Okay.
able to take
I
that
see what
same
you mean
message
now.
and pick
Okay.
what that's gonna pick how you can get that message across to those different folks. It's super super important. But that's
I see.
knowing your audience.
Okay.
It's the same thing as a musician, right? There's sometimes we're in front of an audience where we understand we can talk about backstory of a song in a more honest way. Sometimes we know we can be funnier about it. Sometimes we know we should be more blunt. Sometimes we know that we should kind of not beat around the bush, but maybe beautify this story a little bit. It's like learning how to handle an audience, learning how to handle a person. As long as the message remains true, and your goal is to get that across honestly, you have to understand the different means of communication to do so.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, as an artist, we have to really understand the people.
Man,
Read
definitely.
them. How best to communicate, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about that. Yeah.
You can definitely recognize a lot. That's probably not the way to say it. You can definitely make some strong predictions about people's success in an entertainment industry based off of their ability to handle people and communicate with different people. And whether it's if you can't hold one person's attention, then you certainly can't hold 1,000. You can't run an audience if you can't control this conversation or entertain a small group of people, whatever it is. And there are definitely some people where they get so caught up in the artistry side of things, they assume that people need to listen to them, and they don't get much conscious practice of, hey, how can I communicate with people effectively?
Interesting.
You get to see that a lot, especially in a city like Nashville, where you're around so many creatives.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot there. Fighting.
You got coffee in me. Now I'm
got-
just going, bro.
I got into kickboxing.
Yeah, man.
I got very much into fitness after I graduated from Berkeley.
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time practicing guitar, and I honestly had poor diet and poor sleep, and a lot of that is on me and misinformation. I feel like that's one very important thing that people should teach kids. I think is to how to find what works for them diet wise, and to have a regime and working out and doing some sort of a
I
movement.
agree with you.
Because I think whenever I exercise and I eat well, I feel good. I feel energized. I can hold conversations better. So
Yeah.
that and for me, when I had more time, so because didn't have to go to class and stuff, still time. You have to balance everything yourself, and it's all of that is a big learning curve. I got hugely into it, so I would spend sometimes 3 hours at the gym.
Dude, I'm with you.
I was a big guy. I used to be 250-pound big,
Wow.
and then I did a whole body composition change where I went down
So
to
you look great,
my
man.
I don't look good now.
I think you look
I
great.
do
You were
not.
250, brother? That's crazy. Man.
Oh,
You look
I'm
great now.
210 now.
Bro, that's 40
Nice.
pounds down still.
Yeah, but I used to be 150 pounds when I boxed and
Wow.
mountain biked and jumped
Wow.
over. I used to be 11% body fat.
Wow. So you
Yeah.
had to find a balance to where it could fit in your lifestyle still.
And what happened is that when I love something, I really overdo it. I want to learn every single aspect.
I'm with you.
So I go all out, and I went to not MMA classes, but kind of like doing roundhouse and doing a bunch of it's more fitness style. And I tore my left meniscus 3 places.
Yeah.
That's a bad one, man.
And
2
crack
places?
3. So I
places.
had a bucket handle tear, and then 2 other tears.
Wow.
Ooh,
So
man.
it twisted also. So I needed a surgery.
Yeah.
I needed surgery within a month. I had a very good doctor. Within like a week, I was walking,
Oh, wow.
doing exercises. I did the whole knees over toes type of
Yeah.
thing. If you heard of Ben Patrick,
Mhm.
that was the thing that really helped me.
Okay.
But I used to lift a lot, like 350-pound deadlifts and things like that.
Those knee injuries are no joke.
But
man.
that was something that set me back a little, because then you have to kind of restructure how you're working out.
Definitely.
Because now it feels a little not as strong as it used to.
Mhm.
And I used to do a lot of calisthenics, and because my biggest problem, I don't know if I should call it a problem, I love eating, cooking,
Yeah, man.
eating well, but to counter it, I worked out so bloody much.
Yeah.
And I'm naturally like a kind of a chunky dude.
Yeah.
Like everybody in my family told me, you could be a good boxer because you have like that bigger kind of body. I was never like a skinny kid unless when I was a wee kid, I was.
Although we both grew up skinny kids. We're
Yeah.
still skinny kids.
And then and then I got into mountain biking and things which I love. Have you ever mountain biked?
I have done it not as exercise, but I've done it before. You know, just on trips and stuff. But especially speaking on just the whole diving into stuff. That's one of the things that I recognize Preston is one of the things that I enjoy about working with him and pulling him into my life and forcing him to hang out with me. He is. I always think I'm super obsessive, and he always credits me as to be the one that's has no casual interest. But though you have a lot of casual interest, when you
experience
fall in love and stuff, dude, you dive in.
I dive in. I like to, if I like something, then I want to know a ton about it. But it is hit or miss with what I like and what I have to figure out me before I figure out anybody else. So I love tea, I like production, I like camera, video work, all this. This room is I could live in a spot like this.
Yeah.
For the
People
rest of my
rewatch
life.
the podcast
Yeah.
from this, from the start to now. You'll see Preston kind of just looking
just-
around. He's paying attention, but he's like, got Rocket 8s over there? All
I
right.
like Rocket Ants. Oh, I like your bass on that.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, but I really like to dive into the things I like to dive for because I don't have a ton of mental real estate. I don't speak on a ton of things for hours on end, but specific things I can. I love talking cameras. We talked cameras before this. I love talking cameras. I love talking production. I see you using Logic. Love all that. Love that stuff.
I started production for a long time.
Well, that's all I did in my spare time for years. I think
really how we started getting together.
Yeah.
I skipped through it with a lot of the fighting stuff, but through the point of before me fighting, and actually right around the same time that I started, was we would start working together. He would produce stuff, and we'd go sit in a little closet and we'd do stuff together. And then COVID hit, and we had a whole thing through COVID where we worked together.
And I was not good until I was. I started horribly.
I'm with you on that, brother.
That's so. One thing that I thought holds back artists is overthinking and trying to make something perfect. But what I've learned is nothing that you'll start will be at a point that you see. Like, you have to start something to get to that.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to say perfection, but a good level.
Your time is an
So
investment.
yes, but you can't sit on something too long. So artists that sit
And
on
you can't be afraid to start
Yes.
something just because you think the end result might not be what you want perfectly in your head. Yeah.
So and you can't be afraid. People will always criticize. People that doesn't create something will always criticize.
Mhm.
I've heard a really good saying about those who criticize don't create, or afraid to
Yes.
creating, but those who
Mhm.
create are afraid of criticism, or
Mhm.
something like that along the line.
Mhm.
Which I was like, that is actually very smart.
Yeah.
So I used to be all that. So I've experienced a lot of that. I used to be afraid, oh, just not perfect, overworking, recording 60 guitar solos and going with the third guitar solo, and like kind of learning how to balance that and to just get into minds of creating, and then somebody will like it. Like, it will speak to somebody. If you're passionate truly to what you're doing, the energy will bring it out and people will like it.
Mhm.
Like,
And I think what's nice about like creating an artistry is that I have always done it as like a form of relaxation. Where I started writing poems. That's where I started. So I started writing poems, and then I played piano since I was 9, and then I just kind of put them together at some point.
keep on going.
I'll say you want to make sure it's still recording.
Yep. That always records. I love it. Poems. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Please tell me.
No worries. So I just was playing piano, started writing poems, and I combined them at one point. That's how they became songs. They weren't perfect, and then I figured out the balance of where things were supposed to be and what I liked, and then he came into my life and started taking it more seriously than I was taking it, and I was like, yeah, actually, well, we could probably do this. And we did, and we just kind of kept that energy and mentality throughout it, and that's how we kind of got to this point. And I was always a big proponent of you can be bad, but you can always get better. And
He believed in me when I sucked.
I,
He believed in me when I was delusional. It was so sweet.
But that's only because no one really. I won't say no one. That's unfair. I didn't have the biggest support when I was bad. I just didn't really mind it as much because I was like, well, I mean, I'm just gonna get better. Because that's kind of what I learned through doing 14 years of gymnastics. No one starts the best. No one starts great.
Yeah.
You just got to work at it. You got to figure out the basics, practice those all the time. Eventually, get to a point where you start being more creative with it, and then you can just start doing what you want to do. But you have to do that first part first.
We credit athletics for so much of our success because it's things like what I said. Jeff pushed with, hey, nobody cares what your excuse is, but it's also like, I remember the first time we did a handstand. And then I remember the best handstand I ever had, and then I remember what I got now. And you recognize perishable skills. You recognize what happens when you put hours into stuff. I did it with baseball. I definitely did it with fighting. And it's like when your threshold maybe that's not the right word for it, but when you understand the process of getting good at something, you start to not be afraid to start something. You know what I mean? Like you're not afraid of starting bad, and being bad at something suddenly is exciting. And it's one of those things where like the power of the mind can't be understated. And if you can reframe your brain to get excited about being bad at something, then I mean that's what a winner does in life.
Well, what matters is who you're surrounded with.
Yeah,
or
you are who you
surrounded
surround
by.
yourself with.
Yes.
So if you surround yourself with a bunch of losers who think like losers, then you're going to be a loser who thinks like a loser. But if you surround yourself with people that chase the next thing, that know what it's like to improve on stuff, that encourage you to get through bad stuff, but don't lie to you about where you're at, that's good. Like Preston and I always ask ourselves, and we check in, especially every couple months as we've grown a lot in this last year, and since we signed our first deal and all this stuff, and since this too really started, every couple months we have to have this check-in where we really say to each other, hey, are we in the right room? Because the question is, are you in a room where you are the worst person in the room, the best, or in the middle? Because to us, if you're not the worst person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. Don't surround yourself with artists that you are more successful than. Go surround yourself with people that are infinitely more successful than you. Go learn from what they have done. Like, we talk about fighting. It's like that's the thing that I equate so much stuff to. Because I went from my backyard, where I was the top dog, and 2 years there, where I was teaching everybody how to fight, I was not getting near I was not getting good near as quickly, not getting better near as quickly, than when I went and did my first 3 months at Fortis, because I went from being the top dog and the biggest fish in that small pond in my backyard where I'm running things, and then I go to this gym that's a real gym that everybody there is better than me. And on my worst day, I got so much better than I could in a week of being in this place that I was comfortable, that I felt like I was really good. Like, if you get obsessed with the ego side of it, where you like want to feel like you're important, where you want to feel like you look at Kanye and you're like, man, I love Kanye, I want to be like Kanye, let me surround myself with people who suck at making music and they treat me like I'm Kanye, and then I'm good. But no, you don't want to be like Kanye, you want to feel like you're Kanye. That's the difference.
Complacency is never a good thing.
No, man, you got to go out and you have to go find a room where it's people that you look around, you sit and you say to yourself, I do not feel like my skill level is good enough for this room. And then you have to have the confidence to say, but I'm going to work harder than everybody in this room. And I will pay the most attention out of everybody in this room. And with those things, I know that my ceiling is higher than everybody else here. But I'm at the lowest point right now. It's like, you got to make sure that you are constantly evolving. If you are in the same room a year from today, that you've done something wrong. You haven't grown enough. You know, it's like you have to keep seeking that next level.
I think that's an an excellent way of looking at it. Like, you have to have these right questions to check in with not only you but who you're working with, and really be honest and upfront. And if something is not right, what can be changed? And it's a very good way of looking at it. I think I very much resonate with that. Yeah. One thing I like to say is it's more hard work than talent, because a lot of people, I don't know what y'all thoughts are, but talent is, I think, is an overused term or an overused word.
Yeah.
Because when I went to school, there were a lot of people, they threw in like talent, but they ended up
important.
They ended up not going anywhere because they didn't work hard enough, or they didn't want it, or they just wanted something else, which is okay.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm saying, like, you don't need talent for success. You need hard work, dedication, and knowing what you want. And being, it's like shifting. Okay, this doesn't work. Let's try something else.
Yeah, you definitely have to be, fluid in your approach to things. Yeah. Talent is a God-given ability, saying you were born able to do this. People that have perfect pitch, that is a talent. Then you have a skill, and a skill is something that you learn. And I hope that your talent is the ability to work hard and the understanding that work ethic is more important than anything, and that you will take that work ethic and you will become more skillful. I think gymnastics brought into my head the word skill oftentimes, because it was never, this is a move, this is a technique, this is a thing. It was whatever it was, that planche I was talking about, that's called a skill. And it was like, my coach was super, super specific. I was like, it's called a skill because it is something you have to earn. It's something you have to work for. It's something you learn. He's like, and that's what these people are. We have watched, especially me, Preston was so much better than I was so much earlier. And still, I credit him to be the most skillful part of this too. I'm just the loudest. But with that, that hard work is everything. Because you look around, and I've seen so many people that are undeniably more talented than I am, and a lot of them even more skillful than I am, but they don't work as hard. And a year ago, I looked at them and I was like, damn, I'd love to be where they're at. And now they're looking at us and they're like, hey, how'd you get up there? And I'm like, I didn't stop, dude.
Yeah, making the right choices, having a plan, systems. So what I've been learning, because I used to have partners. When did you guys move here?
He moved here.
I came here in 2018.
Yeah. But we moved together.
We moved back here together in 2021.
Yeah. So that's how long you've been full time out here. And then we've been out here together since August of 2021.
Yeah. I've learned that having the right systems, really, you have to have good systems for your success. Yeah. And surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals with the same, same way of looking at things. Yeah. If you have opposing thoughts on certain matters, if you have to make too much adjustments, there will be places and times where it will come back.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's important. Now I've been rebranding. I'm just myself in my business, and I'm having to apply all the mistakes not apply them, but learn and
Learn from
not
them.
to do those things, you
Mhm.
know, to create better relationships, create better services, and give better value to people that I work with.
Yeah, man.
You know,
And that's the thing. You can do what you want to do forever, but if you don't learn from mistakes or learn
Yeah.
like have lessons and be humbled by lessons,
Yeah.
you're never gonna improve. You're never gonna grow.
yeah,
And that's not to say every single mistake is a lesson learned, but you should take away something from every mistake.
No, I
or
think
every
every mistake
exactly.
is a lesson
No,
learned.
yeah, I agree.
I think every mistake is for sure a lesson learned. I mean, I think that's. I think it's how you. I mean,
Yeah,
having
that's
a
not
learn-
exactly what I was trying to say. I meant like not every mistake means that what you did was wrong.
Mm,
So, but it's still a lesson learned in like oh well, this could have been a case by case basis, or this could have been this thing. There's a million factors for every situation, but to not take away something from
Mhm.
everything is a mistake in itself.
No, you have to have a learner's mentality, and a learner's mentality comes from humility and like perseverance. The humility and perseverance are that key to that learner's mentality, and that learner's mentality is that key to finding the right room, and that right room, finding the right room is the key to that success that you're looking for. So like you can't be
I
afraid.
like the similes.
Uh,
I was smiling earlier because I also use a lot of fitness
yeah.
similes. You know, as when I'm mountain biking is like a skill. It's not going for a bike ride.
Yeah.
You have to choose the path. You have to
Mhm.
know how you're going through these obstacles and
Uh-huh.
things like that, and then stick with it. Same thing, like make a decision. Stick with the decision. If you messed up, you do it differently.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of life lessons that you can learn from these things, but you have to have that kind of open mind to see it in that sense.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of like these intersecting thoughts that you learn from one thing and then you can apply it to the other thing. That's why I like to get into a lot of things and see how that can impact another thing. You
Yeah.
know, how can you use a mindset there? Like my teacher, one of my teachers at Berkeley, he was like, one of the most important things is connect and play with as many people here because they are going to be the future, not us.
Yeah.
And they're going to be, and then if you want to be good at jazz, find jazz people. You want to be good at that, surround yourself with that people, you know.
Yeah.
So my whole philosophy there was I was extremely busy. Like sometimes I was struggling because I was more busy than what I could handle. But that is also a lesson in itself, you know.
Some people definitely overlook. No, maybe not overlook. They overdo things in the pre-planning department. And one of the things like equating to fighting, which both you and I do, sitting here saying, hey, if I can equate this to this other thing in my life that I got good at, then I can understand how this works. But it's like the only way to get better, not the only way, but the most effective way to get better at fighting is to go fight. That's how you do it, right? So not everybody, but a lot of people really get caught up in this idea, especially with music, where they're like, okay, I need my first song to be my best song, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to go spend a year reading these books on how to do it, and I'm going to go watch all these YouTube series and all this stuff, and then I'm going to finally sit down at a DAW and I'm going to try and do it. And it's like, dude, you can't do that. Just go make it.
You know what happens with that?
Huh.
If somebody gets into that line, I think they will put a lot of pressure on that song needing to be a best hit.
Mm-hmm.
You start putting these expectations. If you're doing something just to plainly have fun, do the best
Exactly.
you can, have
Exactly.
zero expectations.
Yeah.
It's like how do I do it? How do I explain it? It's like casually doing something without really putting too much effort in it, and then it will get. How do I say something? Okay, a fitness example.
There we go.
There are
Back to
folks.
it.
There are folks who do fitness to look good, but there are folks who work out to be functional, to be healthy, and the end result will be to look good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you
Or like the side result of that.
Yes,
you
the
don't
side
look-
result.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Exactly,
I don't know
yeah.
if you
No, I totally
if
get
you
you.
so same thing with that. Like I just want to pick up my guitar and play something cool that I like. You know, turn it into something. It's cool. You know, record it.
Yeah.
But not like, oh, I need to do this for a year. I need to do this. I need to do this, and then you can't be that meticulous.
Yeah. Well, there's
That's not the right word, but you know.
No, I get what you're saying though.
Yeah.
There's a quote from Ed Sheeran, who when I was growing up, Ed Sheeran was a huge inspiration, and still is, of course. But I remember before Multiply came out, he was still very young in the career and all this stuff, and he had just broken into the U.S. I think he had just dropped like the deluxe version of Plus, which was his first record, and he was talking about songwriting, and he's like, songwriting is like, running pipe. He's like, you got to let that water flow, and you're gonna get all this brown, gunk, horrible water you can't drink, and then eventually it starts to clear up, and then it clears up enough for you to drink it, and you got perfectly fine water. And he's like, that's what songwriting is like.
That is cool.
I think what comes with that is I think people oftentimes, and everyone has different processes. So what I'm about to say, I don't mean to isolate either side of this spectrum, but some people just say, I'm gonna go practice writing songs, and they say, I'm gonna write a song every single day. I'm gonna pick a new topic, and it doesn't have to be real. It's just about writing the song. It's about getting better at that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's not my thing. I don't like to do that. I like to write about a lot of things in my life that are very real, and I'm not picky. If I don't do it today and I don't do it tomorrow, that's fine because the time will come. Now, I will say, growing up, I wrote so much that eventually I was able to kind of clear out some of that bad water. And if I go a year without writing, which I haven't gone a year without writing, but I've gone like a month or two before, and that water does get a little bit brown at the beginning. And then that, the first start of that song, or maybe that first verse chorus you do, isn't the best, but it's better than some other stuff might have been. But you start to find that clear water again that you can actually drink. And I think that people get caught up in this, let me practice to be good, rather than let me, just like what you're saying, let me just do. And if I do, then I will eventually improve, rather than saying, and like I'm saying, some people have the opposite process. So I'm not isolating the people that are saying, I'm going to practice this to get good at that. I love that because I do that in a lot of other endeavors. But for me, for songwriting, for art, for creative endeavors, it's like, no, I'm just going to do. And then maybe this one isn't it. But if it's meant to be, it'll be. God will take all this stuff and it's going to work out in its own way. And divine timing is real in this. So I'm just going to do this. And if this is the one, this is the one. And if it's not, then it's getting me one step closer to the one. And I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to do.
Well, I was going to say, like, I think if people get very obsessed with the practice and the discipline and the just doing things the right way, that's the fastest way for a creative to become not a creative. And I think a lot of people fall into that because there is a way to do things and there is a right way to do things, but I think rules are meant to be broken a little bit, especially when it comes to arts and when it comes to just creating something that's in your mind, doesn't exist yet. And if you really want to push those boundaries or do anything that's more true to you, you have to just do it. You can't practice that.
I don't know if there's
It's
a
like
right
a
way
muscle.
to do things.
I say people sometimes think there's a right way to do things. I think people, when you get to a certain like skill level, when you get to a certain practice, you're like, no, you can't do that because you have to do it like this. But well, technically this way works. Like it's just
Maybe they have to be their own scientists and find out what works for them.
Yeah, find your process.
Find your process. This reminds me when I used to practice a lot. And then I would have gigs, and I'm like, shoot, why don't I sound like the way I sounded when I was practicing it? Because practicing like scales and things like that is not practical.
No.
Because you're not going to go out and play scales. You have to. I went for a year or something not practicing, but that doesn't mean that I was not playing. Because when you're playing, it's a different skill. So when you're practicing, you have to kind of induce the same kind of feeling as playing, like not being in like that exercise mindset. Like you can do it for 5 minutes, but it can't be like an hour-long thing where you're, And I think that's different. And when I started doing that, I was better at performing than the exercises. So that's when the whole thing shifted. And I wasn't practicing a lot, but I didn't have to per se because I had like years of already doing that. So you also have to trust your own like skills and things like, because I used to be afraid if I don't go for like, if I go 4 days without playing, I'm going to suck. And things like, but then I realized a lot of these things that you actually do to soothe yourself and get into a comfort mode. So I realized that for me to play better, is to me to feel comfortable. Comfort.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, I used to like have this guitar. I have ADHD and all of this. I'm neurodivergent.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understood it for a long time. And I went like, oh, everybody kind of like that, but
Yeah.
they were.
Yeah.
But
My
I was wrong.
my fiance is on the spectrum, and I was nearly on the spectrum. I was 2 points away.
Damn.
Well, I don't care, but I get into a lot of things. Like I'm super obsessive over items. Like I get really good at things in a very short amount of time because I'm very obsessive.
Yeah, I know.
Dude,
Like when I got
that's your
into
superpower, bro.
Yeah.
yeah. But then there's certain things that can tire me. You know. Like you have to understand the balance. You know. I used to say to people that I'm what is it called? How do you call when you are outgoing and when you're not outgoing?
Extrovert.
I used to tell people that I'm extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
Because when I'm extrovert for a long amount of time, I need to be introvert for a few days to kind of recharge.
That's yeah.
And then I realized after if I go to like these meetups where you meet local like similar like-minded people, and then you go to bars and you know I get tired after a while. Like I need a day or two without talking.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I was going with all that stuff. Shoot. I had a path in
It's
my
about having that
mind.
process. It's okay.
What were you saying about ADHD?
Yeah, right? We're with you on that, man. You start giving us coffee, and it's like,
Dude, I forgot. Shoot.
No, it's okay.
Oh man, I had a path in my mind that I thought made sense. That happens to me sometimes. I go on a tangent and a shit.
I'm with you on
forgot.
that, buddy.
Oh, dude, that's gonna bother me.
It's okay. You'll find it.
Oh yes, I remember. So
Yes.
I used to play a lot of gigs, and my thing was I entertainment. Like you're a musician, you gotta entertain, no matter what style you play. And I had a big band of 24 people, horns. I arranged, and it was a mix of a lot of genres like microtone music, fusion, jazz, rock, metal, multiple time signatures.
Yeah.
But I loved like making people dance, and I had sections in the song where I went down and grabbed people and started boogieing and shit. Like you have to be entertaining.
Yeah,
Because you're an
man.
entertainer.
That's
You're
your job.
not playing for yourself. You're playing for the people. You know.
Yeah.
And so I had this other guitar that was built by my uncle, and whenever I didn't play it and I sucked, I'm like, it's probably because of the guitar. I don't know. I had this weird thought. And then I had to do this thing where I arrive to the scene or the event and I walk around and meet everybody. And then I'm at the point, okay, now I feel good. I can play good. And I play good because I feel like I've reached a comfort level. That's where I was going with doesn't matter how much I practiced. If I sounded good without other people, that doesn't really matter because that's not what people will see.
Mm-hmm.
How can you put yourself or myself in the best position to be my best? And that had to do with also how the teachers were teaching you, how they expected you to play. I thought so much about it because a lot of times I feel like teachers put what they want you to sound like as opposed to here are the tools that can help you find your own sound.
Yeah.
I was always like reason why I got into music is because I love people like Miles Davis and people, Michael Jackson, people who created a legacy and are not trying to copy a trend or something. You know, so I wanted to be a guitarist, a producer, somebody who tries to find a different sound. That's why I love working with artists because it's always, let's dive into what you do, what are your like experiences, what are your favorite records, what do you want this to kind of, how do you want this to be captured, and like let's design a sound for you. And same thing, that's why I got into video because I was always audio visual. Like what does your brand look like? How can that be cohesive, and how does that evolve? Because I also don't want to bubble myself. Like you know, for a long time Justin Bieber was this boy singer or something, and then he did some banger R&B. You know, I thought his R&B records were great. Don't get me wrong, I thought they were freaking great.
Dude, we'll stand by Bieber any day of the week. That
Hell
dude
yeah.
kicks ass.
He evolved definitely from the kid pop to like that yummy yummy. That shit I listened to so many times. I've heard so many
Okay,
sounds.
Yummy Yummy is the one that I don't stand by.
Yeah, and I say
But-
this almost
but-
every day at work. This is my least favorite song. I think definitely
Listened
top
to
5
so
least
many
favorite
times,
songs.
dude.
But dude, that guy's vocal tone. Oh
Yeah.
my
He is
god,
incredible.
He's a
so
good singer.
He's
Yeah.
so good. It's crazy, man. It's he just worked not just worked, but a couple years ago worked with our favorite producer, biggest idol, John Bellion. John Bellion is like, oh my God. I love that dude to death. Preston introduced me to John. And now I'm head over heels with that dude's production work and songwriting and all that stuff. His songwriting is super different than my stuff and typically what I would like base my stuff off of. But his production work and his ability to write bangers is just next level. And there's definitely some influence in my stuff, but there's a lot of influence when Preston's writing. But he just did. I keep saying just did. He did not just do, but a couple years ago he did Justin's record. Justice, was it? Justice, yeah. With like peaches and all that stuff. Like Goes to You, yeah. But when they had that collab, I was like, all right, you know what? And I liked Bieber before that, but when they had that collab, one, I do think that was Bieber's best record, and I don't think it's a coincidence. But I remember like hearing that and be like, all right, if John is saying this dude is it, and he's actually about that life, and I remember he was tweeting about it, being like, hey. No, Bieber's for real. Like he's really about that. I was like, all right, I'm gonna trust this dude to say like if he's actually like that, then I'm gonna. If there's anyone that could just say that, now I'd be like, I'm going to blindly trust you. It was John, and then in the last few years, because of that, like both of us have paid more attention to Bieber, and we're like, all right, yeah, no, he's about that life.
Yeah, he's good.
He's
chill.
I want to be like Bieber when I grow up now.
I want to sell my entire song catalog for $500 million.
Man, did you see that guy who went through multiple surgeries to look like Justin Bieber?
No.
I remember hearing about that. I never
Yes,
saw any
dude.
photos.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. He had the hair transplant, jaw change, and everything. He looked
Look,
kind
we
of
don't-
like him,
We
but
don't want to be judgmental people, but I am judging the fuck out of that guy. Why would you do that, dude? Just look like you, bro. I'm sure you were pretty.
yeah.
Like, why would you want someone else's face? That's not a good game plan. I mean, I know why Preston would want mine, but outside of that, it's.
I'll get there.
That was funny.
I started a
Outside of that,
GoFundMe. I'll get there.
Oh yeah, what's the link?
I'll send it to you later.
just-
Don't worry
you
about
just-
it.
No, I think go fund yourself.
http://
Yeah, I was like, dude,
Go
drop-
fund yourself.
Go fund
Okay.
yourself. That part.
So you guys produce the songs together, or do you guys work with outside producers, or what's your process?
So for the first record, we worked with a producer named Stefan Scarbeck, and actually early in the podcast, you might have heard me say, "Are we whooping?" And that's because Stefan was one of the first guys that I ever met who also had a whoop, and we went out to Los Angeles, and I was like, "Oh my God, you have a whoop!" And he was like, "I do have a whoop, mate."
A British guy.
Oh yeah, exactly. He,
British?
I have a great accent, Preston.
British?
Relax, all right.
All right, mate.
But he was phenomenal. He worked with like Amy Winehouse, a couple other big artists, and he's a sweetheart of a human being. So he produced the first record with us, and I don't know, for this next one, we're exploring a lot of options. We're thinking maybe just us. We're thinking bringing in more producers. We're not really sure, but for the first one, it just wasn't really our style of production, and we had a great opportunity. Like we're with a little indie label that's out of LA right now.
Nice.
And we signed with them like in July of 2022. So just under like a year after we moved out here together. That's kind of, this two started in like June when they approached us. And then we were like, you know, if you guys have a producer that you think is great, it's got, you know, all these accolades, and you know, we've been making stuff out of our bedroom, we would be silly not to take advantage of this. So we worked with him and we learned so much. And I don't know, we're thinking for this next one, it might be kind of fun to let it have a more like personal flavor where it really is just us, but it might be like a co-production type of thing. Like I understand production and I like building composition. But my ability on a DAW is so limited. That skill set is not built up for me. Preston is way better at it. Both of us, neither of us are audio engineers though. You know what I mean? So it's like we still need a team. But you know, we're kind of exploring with this. You know, we've made music solo for so long that we've gotten to flesh out a lot of stuff. But finding our identity in this too, and seeing kind of where that's growing. We definitely have ideas, but the fun thing about ideas and plans is that, you know, man makes a plan, God laughs. So we'll kind of see how that stuff goes. So we have loose plans, loose ideas saying, hey, maybe this would be cool, maybe this would be nice. But we're really just trying to see what we truly feel called to do. Because right now is when we're really starting this process of, hey, maybe let's start on the second record now. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but in short, we're not quite sure if this next one is going to be with another producer, if we're going to co-produce it, if it's going to be all us. We've met some amazing people in these last couple of years, so we definitely have some great resources.
Yeah, there are a lot of great people here in town.
The question is just, are we going to do it on this one? You know, the question for most of those people is not, will we ever work with them? We're like, hell yeah, we'll definitely work with them. But the question is right now, is this record, for the songs that we've picked out, is this one where we should say, hey, this is really going to be just Preston and I, so people can really get the sense of what we make together, what makes this too special. Because, you know, there's a lot of love on our voices when we sing together, and that's great. There's a lot of love for the lyrical composition through a lot of the songs, and that's great. But we want to show, like, hey, if we make this full project together, let's show that to the world. Now, if this is the right project for it, then great. Maybe it's number 3, maybe it's number 4, we're not sure yet. But, like, one of these days it'll be, every artist has their, like, self-titled record, and we're just kind of flirting with the idea, not of a self-titled record yet, but of having one where we're like, this is authentically us through and through. Every single sound that you hear in this record came from our brains and our fingertips and our mouths, and that's, you know, something we're kind of playing around with. As long as we can do it to the best of our abilities and have that, you know, product still be high quality, that's what we'll roll with. But I don't know. That's a long-winded answer. I know. Anyone feel free to cut me off.
That's a nice answer, yeah. I mean, it takes time to develop what your sound. You gotta go through a bunch of experimenting. You know, it's doing your own is always gonna be harder than copying somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. It's
you
want to have your influences, but it's one of those things where it's like you definitely have to make sure it's you. And we have a cool opportunity with each record to not change the style, but definitely show different stylistic influences on each one. Like our first one was super pop. So this next one, you know, we've played around with maybe some pop rock vibes, some pop folk vibes, and some things like that. And, you know, I mean, going all the way from Noah Khan to Panic at the Disco to Glory Sound Prep with John Bellion and stuff, and even Panic has a ton of different sounding records, and, well, hell, so does Noah. But, you know, all those folks, it's like, hey, we have a lot of ideas and a lot of songs that can fit in this, but whatever track list we put together is going to dictate the style of this next record, you know?
Yeah. Very cool.
And we trust the process, man, you know?
We do.
Yeah.
And then you shoot all the videos?
Yep. Dude, he's a wizard.
Wow.
Kid. He's a wizard.
I want to learn more. How did you get into videography? What's your kind of origin story there? What drew you to it?
So we're gonna get introspective on this one. It's I used to be obsessed with the concept of like forgetting things and like memory,
dude.
And all.
I need to cut you for a moment.
No worries.
Have you heard of this thing called severely deficient autobiographical memory, ASDAM?
I knew one of those.
Yeah.
My fiance has no memory. She can't see memories. Like if I tell you to imagine an apple, I can see an apple. She cannot.
Wow.
Yes, and that's very interesting you mentioned because she's actually an archivist, archiving the footages and stuff. And she learned last year that she has ASDAM and she has like memory. She knows the information, or she knows like, oh, I ate an apple, but she can't see that she ate an apple. But anyway, tell me more.
I'm fairly familiar with that. I definitely do not have that. That is just something I was like looking up and I definitely read somewhere. But I used to be kind of obsessed with that concept and just kind of like, I don't really want to forget these things because I find so much joy in these moments and I'm not going to remember that tomorrow and I'm not going to be kind of in the same headspace. It's hard for me to get back in that same headspace because of so many other things going on in my brain and whatnot. So I like taking pictures. And then I kind of just got into cameras and I really liked finding different ways to take pictures. And then with videos, I was just like, as a kid, I'd be in my room with like toys or action figures and whatnot, making scenes, Legos and
Did you ever
whatnot.
do like the stop motion thing?
I did. I did a lot of that.
I was all about that
for school projects with Legos. Oh man, stop motion. If there was an opportunity for that, oh yeah, all the time. And I had friends that did the same thing. So we would get together all the time and do that kind of after school or something like that. But as soon as I got into cameras, this was around the time I was like 11 or 12, I just really like found it fascinating the way you could take a picture of one object, and depending on how you took that picture, it would tell a different story. And there was this quote, and I can't remember exactly where it's from. I think it was an Apple commercial that was just like, photos are frames of movies that don't exist yet. So you should be able to take a photo, and within that photo be able to come up with like a story behind that photo, but depending on how you take that photo is how you're going to tell that story. And I got obsessed with that concept. I love just telling stories. And then once video work came around, I just still like telling stories, so that became a whole like thing for me. So every frame, every piece of video that I did would be able to tell a story. You could pause it at any point and be like, well, what's going on here, and all that. And then once I started doing that, I started doing it for other people. And so I would do music videos for other people, or I would just shoot videos and content for other people. And I just liked being able to tell their stories and figuring them out, and then being like, well, how am I going to take their photo? Or like, how am I going to shoot their video in a way that authentically kind of represents them? And I also just love self-expression, and I think it's very important, and that's why I value it for other people, is because I value it for myself. And like, self-expression is very important for everybody, because I think it makes everybody feel validated, feel important, feel good when they get to tell their story and tell their side, no matter really what it is. So I got into photo and video because I liked just telling those stories and figuring out the best way to capture them, and I think that's just kind of how my brain works. And that's what I feel very called to do. And so now I'm 12 years into it, and I'm just like, I got a bunch of gear, I love all my stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, any moment I get to do that is a moment I feel most at peace and most in my element, and just telling stories in general and doing all that. So
that's awesome.
We'll be at a show sharing a bill with somebody, and he will go film the people that are opening for us. He'll be like, I'll be your camera guy. Like, for free. He just goes out there with $4,000 worth of equipment. Spends an hour with a gimbal, just like...
I know that. Yep.
And, like, before the show, and I'm always looking at him like, man, don't blow your load too early. I'm like, save some energy. But then it's like, he comes back, and he's got more energy than he did in the first place. And
nice. Gotta call you for some second shooting for me now.
I was like, dude, he literally just shows up to film.
That's
other
awesome.
People.
I just love it.
It's like, wow, we have other stuff to do. I love it. It's crazy.
It's just all the things I like to, and that's why music videos was like a big thing that I love to do. It was everything I love to do, because as you were saying earlier, when people find their sound and find what they like to create aside from what sounds good on the radio or like all this, finding your unique sound is very important. So I like shooting for artists I think have found their unique sound, because then I can create a unique image. Yes. And I'm not going to go out and create a video that's like cookie cutter that you can just post, like look up music video, and then it's just going to look like that. Yeah. It's going to look more like what they set out to do and it's a little challenge for me. I like working it out and figuring out like, oh, this sound kind of sounds like this, so I'm going to incorporate it like this. I love doing that, and I love getting to watch artists and people do what they love to do while I'm moving around them, and then I send them a video a couple days later, a week later, and they're like, whoa, like this is what I wanted. This is the image I had in my head.
Especially because they don't know it half the time.
They don't know.
It's like Preston makes some of the best music videos I've ever seen in my life, and it's so cool because like I am definitely like probably top 5 top 5 people that would like recognize his style and like things that he's enjoyed, not because I understand it very deeply, but because I've seen it so much at this point, but when I watch music videos he shoots for other artists, it's like I have to look with like the biggest magnifying glass to try and find a trace that's Preston, not just whatever this artist needed, because they really are all super different. One of Preston's huge skills is his ability to connect, not just emotionally, but like connect on the same wavelength mentally with people that can like, he just does it differently. It's not even, some people really struggle to connect like that, and he can connect with them. Some people can do it really easily and he connects with them, but it's like, you can like you and I are on the same wavelength with a lot of exercise stuff, and it's like and understanding how that melds into creative world.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like he's out of everybody I've ever met in my life can connect deeper with somebody than anybody I've ever met. He's got his own little way to it. So like when I watch him connect with people that like we love and adore, he shot videos for my girlfriend, he shot videos for our bassist girl, and so many other friends, and watching him connect to those people that he has like been around and spoken to and become friends with, and then watching him connect on that creative level, it feels like in Avatar when they have hair sex and they like plug up to each other and they like start like understand everything. Like, oh shit, that's what it feels like I'm watching.
I just love getting down to the brass tacks.
He gets into their brain. It's like I can understand you. You and I can connect. We can be friends, and a lot of things you say resonate with me, and I hope vice versa. But it's like he can see things through your eyes. Not like, oh, he's got a lot of empathy. He got a lot of sympathy with this. No. Like it's like he's in your body.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
It's super cool. It's super cool to see.
That sets apart from folks who just have good gear and
dude.
Yeah.
That's the thing with like TikTok and things like that. The more cookie cutter videos will come out, and this will really make that difference. Like coming up with something that has an aesthetic that looks interesting and cool, like that video that I've seen on you guys' social media. Like I would say that, like I would not click away from it because it is unique.
Thank you.
And that's what's more needed, I think, for artists to really like. This is my aesthetic. Create something that engages people, engaging content.
I think we live in a day and age where being unique sells a little better than being cookie cutter. Although being cookie cutter does sell, I think what I see a lot of people who do that fall into is repeating the same thing and doing the same thing.
Their lifespan is certainly shorter.
It's definitely shorter.
Yeah.
And it leaves no room to grow because you didn't start from anything. You didn't start from a seed. You started from a tree.
Yeah, if you're seeking longevity, then you need to seek out whatever is your most effective way to honestly communicate who you are as a person. If you want longevity in that career, you have got to be yourself.
People like honesty.
Yeah,
that's why, podcasts and things like grow more popular, especially a lot of them are like type like this, people just put it on, they cook and listen to some random people talking about random shit. It's about connecting at the end of the day. However you do it, depends on the medium. But that's awesome. I can tell talking to you, hearing you guys talk, I just said the same thing, that you are very good at what you do. Like, I wouldn't have to see it, not that I don't want to or anything, but just hearing you speak about how passionate you are and all the good you are speaking, that little segment I seen, I can tell that you really are passionate at what you do. And I think that communicates every time.
I think I have a lot of skill and I have a lot of that, but I credit that 90% to the point that I found what I love to do very early on. And I stuck with it. And I just kept doing it and kept trying to best myself and all that. But I just found that so early on to where some people find it when they're 18, 19. Some people find it when they're 35, 40. I found it when I was 11.
Oh, wow.
So I really just kind of have my way of doing things and figured myself out because I was very obsessed with like, not myself, but like I didn't understand myself to a certain degree because other people... Like, I was very different from other people, and I have been very different from other people. So figuring myself out was kind of a priority for me because I was like, well, I need to know what I like to do and what I do. So, I would say I'm an introvert, big introverted person.
That's an understatement.
I'm a huge introvert just because I spent so much time being like, I just like
Can you
people.
hold that thought?
No
I'm
worries.
sorry. I don't want that to die. Because there's a lot of goodness here, and I'd hate to cut it. I just had to put another battery in.
Do your thing.
I am so sorry.
No, do your thing, brother.
Just flip me off.
And
I get that. And I just want to know how you're feeling right now.
No, trust us. We know the energy, man. So we have the amount of replacing batteries and starting and stopping a camera. Dude, I've gotten so good at that.
I only have one battery for my A7 III right now because the second one kind of just stopped.
Pooped out on you.
Yeah, it kind of pooped out on me. And
then wait a sec. And we're back on with
We're
the
back
A7.
on. I have not bought a new A7 III camera because they are $80 a
That
piece.
one's still rolling?
What, a thing, a
Yeah,
battery? Bro,
Z,
don't
yeah.
get that. Get this one. It's pretty much the same thing. I love this one. It's half of that, and you get two. It's the K&F NPFZ100.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it
Oh,
works great.
I
I
thought
just
if you use
hesitate.
knockoff batteries,
I-
doesn't it like fuck it up or something?
Yeah, that's why I'm hesitant to
No,
buy
no.
because there's always stories about like expanding batteries.
I
and
use this all the time for weddings and stuff.
That's-
I have six that I always charge.
Well, I might have some.
Yeah. I only have two original.
Mm-hmm.
All the other ones are third-party brands. Work well so far. I wouldn't use them if they pooped out too early.
That part.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
You know, if they come on. I gotta need to see if everything is recording. You know, but yeah, that's awesome. Did you always use Sony? Are you a Sony guy?
I started on Canon.
Me too.
Yeah, Canon
What was
Rebel.
your first?
Rebel T5i.
Me too,
Boom.
dude.
No way.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. This is the most popular one. I will say.
Well, if you can't make that look good.
That's the thing. Like you
Yeah.
have to be able to know
Yeah.
what you're doing on those kind of cameras.
Basics.
Yeah, and then you like go up to like Sony and whatnot, and then when you apply those same skills, it looks incredible. And you're
Yeah,
like,
guys, I
Oh, man.
get it.
okay,
Yeah, oh,
yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
I
I didn't even know you were still here.
I agree.
Dude.
I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, no, cameras are fucking cool.
Man,
No, I'm definitely a gearhead when it comes to a ton of stuff like that. I just like figuring out. I like electronics. I mean, my dad was big into just kind of electronics growing up. He wasn't like a tech wizard
Big
or anything, but
electricity guy.
he just
same
he
as
would
my
always-
dad. He
He always
built.
fixed computers. He always
Same
fixed,
thing!
Dude,
like,
are you guys
stuff like
biological
that.
brothers?
My
I
dad
think
was
so.
fixing computers. He
Yeah,
built
he
my
was
first
just like-
computers.
I always
Dude,
thought it
that's
was a little
That's funny.
fascinating, and I was like, oh, well, like that works like this, and this works like that, and then this works like that, and then all electronics are basically the same,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, dude, you'd like this. Check this out.
I was looking at this earlier. What is this a lens?
That is a lens.
Oh, it's a little like little.
I'll show it
Is
to
it a
you.
macro or micro?
I thought it was a
it's
stand
not.
for an
It's
action
neither.
figure.
It's from a disposal. It's called a dispo lens.
Oh,
So you
okay.
put it on, and it looks like a disposable.
Disposable?
I'll show it to you after.
That's sick.
Wow, that's cool.
It's really interesting. You get this kind of sepia kind of look.
Mm.
Speaking of disposable cameras, I
Yeah.
have got every time we talk to any person, I always shout this out, but I think it's so cool. We were on tour with a guy named David Michael Frank at the end of last year, and he did this thing where he sold disposable cameras. So he bought like however many cameras, I think it was like 26,
Mhm.
something like it was a really specific number of disposable cameras, and he took them on the entire like 7-week tour, and we like take random pictures with it and all this stuff, and then he sold the cameras during the tour, so you could buy it, and like you get sent the camera, and then you could go get it developed. So it's like you would get unique pictures from the tour that like nobody else had, that we obviously hadn't even seen, David hadn't even seen.
Mhm.
You just take the camera, and at some point during the tour, whether you're taking a selfie on your way walking to the car, or whether like we took pictures on stage,
Mm.
we took a lot of pictures like backstage and stuff like that. But so like everyone got like unique pictures and stuff. It just reminded me of it because you said disposable camera. There's no point to this story other than the fact that I think that's super fucking cool, and I really want to do that when we go on our headlining.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
This thing is just $20, and you can pump
Really?
it up on any E-mount.
Looks like you can just make it yourself, you know?
Yeah, you
Aside from the
can.
glass, you can just like
It
drill into your little.
it costs about the same as buying it.
Fair enough.
That's why
Fair
I
enough.
got it.
Fair enough.
That part.
Yeah, Etsy says it's 50, but on Amazon you can get it for 25.
Easy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
pretty cool. That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like weird lenses.
Me
I
too,
spend a lot
man.
of my time just looking
Oh.
at videos of really odd
Bro, I
lenses.
was dreaming about buying a lens the other day. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Did you have a dream, an actual
Yes!
dream?
Dude, I was looking. So
Shopping on Amazon,
my friend and I, we were working on producing this interesting like Western music video, and I want to use like interesting lenses, like the tilt shift lens. I was even thinking about maybe an anamorphic for those Western, having like very long. Or that aspect ratio angle kind of shot where you have like the guy doing like like shootout scenes. Like I'm
The
just
Texans, we get it,
thinking,
bro.
thinking how can an artist lens create a unique perspective, a unique look, and like thinking how that can drive the story, or how can we make an interesting, impactful like music video. You know, because there are a lot of really good country music videos, but they all look kind of the same. But how can we make a unique twist to it? How can we use maybe all these movies like Hitchcock and people like that who did like very interesting storytelling, and mix it with nowadays element. And I love it. And I was looking at lenses, and then I had a dream about buying a lens. I'm like, oh my god.
I've been looking at the same lens for like 4 years now.
Oh dude, what is it?
It's a Sony 85 1.8. And I'm just
wow.
like,
85 millimeter. Wow, nice.
oh yes,
1.8.
indeed. Yeah.
Must be not cheap.
It's not cheap. It's about 800.
Yeah.
So I'm
That's
like,
cheaper than the lens you got now.
cheaper than the ones I got now, but it's definitely not cheap. You know, like it's
one
it's
thing.
I bought my lens as a one and done lens, to where I wouldn't need another lens for a long time.
Same as that.
Um,
What is that?
It's a Tamron 28 to 75.
28 to 75.
I nearly got
Yeah.
the Tamron.
But it's 2.8 throughout the entire
Same
thing. Yeah.
I have the Sigma 2.8. Yeah.
That was one of those. I was buying a lens, and I was like, I have to have this. If I'm going to buy a zoom
You have
lens,
to.
it has to be
a
this
constant
f stop throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. My kit lens, it changes, so it goes
Yeah.
from
3.5 to 5.6.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then we had these in a music video that we produced this music video a year ago. It's a comedy music video. Charlie Chaplin meets old brother Where Art Thou or something.
Oh wow!
And we had these like
What came up with that?
I can show it to y'all.
Please.
That's
and
fun.
and he has these zoom in shots that were comedic.
Yeah.
You'll
Oh, okay,
see.
yeah.
And then we had to do some color correction or upping thing in each freaking frame because the aperture changed. And I'm like, shit.
Are you a big movie guy?
Yes, I
What's your
love
favorite
artistic. Ooh man, I'll tell you who my favorite director is. He's Christopher Nolan. Dude, really?
I wouldn't say he's my favorite. Oh, get over here, buddy. Get over here. I wouldn't say he's
dude.
my absolute favorite, but he's definitely my favorite right now. To where I'm
Nolan,
actually,
man.
I got a little depressed, like genuinely depressed. I did not go see Oppenheimer.
I've seen it.
We saw Barbie instead. That
We
sucks.
saw Barbie instead. I wanted to
was
do the
great.
I wanted to do the
Dude, not
Barbenheimer.
compared
like,
to
suit up.
Oppenheimer though.
Yeah, I just
It's very interesting. Like
the
the
girlfriends won that battle, man. We would have picked Oppenheimer.
So Christopher Nolan uses my favorite cinematographer, Hoyt van Hoytema, and
Hoytema.
just
bless you.
thank you. He's just incredible. The way his visual storytelling, his knowledge about cameras. He also did Nope.
Nope was great, yeah.
The night scenes in Nope. So they
Ooh.
shot that infrared, and then they shot it also like black and white, and just combined it and gave it
Whoa.
away.
When I was in 4th grade, I would play Call of Duty Black Ops 1, and they had infrared sights, and I thought that it was
Duty.
I thought it was infrared.
infrared. That's not too.
I was like,
that's
I
not
was
too
like,
crazy.
I was like 9, but
Yeah, I was about to
Sorry,
say, I'm pretty
continue.
sure
I just-
I pronounced
just
it like that for
infrared.
a while.
Yeah.
Infrared. I'm pretty sure I also pronounced it like that
Have
for a little while too.
Have you seen the DJI's LiDAR autofocus system?
Yes, that is insane. I think it's
Apparently, with that, we could use like lenses that does not come with autofocus functions.
Mhm.
I think if I get it right, like you put it on top of the lens here,
and it
in-
just rotates.
and
like,
it's
according to-
it's
fucking
yes, like.
So that's a
I
robot.
have the one, the RS3, and apparently on the RS3 Pro, it's funny because I thought that I was gonna have the function where I can see everything on that screen, but
Mhm.
this is not the Pro, so they don't give you that. But apparently in the Pro one, you can. It has like a place that you hit, and then it'll try to get the focus there. And the LiDAR sends all the signal. You can use any lens, like apparently that does not have auto focus,
Mhm.
and it helped with focus.
That's really cool.
I was excited about that with like old Russian lenses. You know what you have to see?
Mhm.
Poor Things.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but it's on my list. It's definitely on
Dude,
my list. As soon as it comes out to streaming.
dude.
I don't know, is it on streaming? yet?
No, but I use
No.
the Russian side.
Send me
Man,
that.
man, the cinematography is phenomenal. They use a 4mm for like wide shots and close-ups, and the bokeh
Mhm.
is very circular.
Yeah.
I know what
They
that
use-
word means.
No, it's that's one of those
Dude.
movies I was like, oh, so you're just gonna feel like you're on drugs the whole time you're watching this movie.
It is super weird, and
It's very
80%
weird.
of the
That's probably
film
the
is
drugs
sex.
genre.
That's like A24 being
Yeah,
the
I'm
most.
in, dude. Sick.
I just have you ever heard
Very
of a
weird.
split diopter lens?
I think so.
So that's a lens where you put
It
it
sounds
on
like a medical condition.
and you one side of the lens is far focus and the other side
I
is
have not heard of it
macro.
then. Jesus.
So yeah, I was watching the Chucky series. 'Cause
The new
I
one?
have a Shutter subscription. Yeah, I have a Shutter.
How
Wait,
is
wait,
it?
there's a new
it's,
one?
It's pretty good. Yeah, well, relatively new. I think it started in like 2019.
Is it like
That's new,
funny-ish?
Yeah.
Funny
It's-
meets horror?
Yeah, it's definitely funny meets horror.
Okay.
But it's still Don Mancini and like the entire just family crew that
Uh-huh.
it started with. You know, it's a very family kind of oriented thing. But they have a shot with a split diopter. I texted one of my professors about it as soon as I saw it. I was like, "What are they doing on this?" And he was like, "That's a split diopter lens." So yeah, left side or right side, depending on which way you're rotating it, can be focused on far, and then the other side is focused close. So you can put two things on different sides, but everything in between
Jesus
is
Christ.
out of focus. And you can use that for storytelling purposes or like whatever you kind of want to do. And I've seen it a couple times. It's very, very rare. It's very rare, but it's one of the coolest things ever, and I want one of those lenses.
Dang. I really want that tilt shift from TTR design. 1.4, but apparently the focus breathing and the chromatic aberrations are
Chromatic
Are-
aberration is terrible.
Aberrations, yeah.
but the fact that you get the miniaturizing,
Mhm.
it'll worth it, but it is cheap.
Yeah,
Like,
if
you get
you're,
what
if you're at the point where you're using a tilt shift lens, you're probably like, oh, but it's like artistic and it looks really cool with a chromatic aberration.
It
Or you can
terrible,
smear
but-
Vaseline on the side of a lens and like deal with that. That's the workaround, you know.
Which
It's-
brand did you look for?
For the tilt shift?
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was not a main brand or anything.
Yeah,
like
I
that.
didn't
It
look
was-
main brands. I
don't
looked everything below 300.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think it was
TTR
Rokinon.
design. Yeah, Rokinon
Rokinon
makes
some-
one, yeah.
but,
Are you looking for APS-C sensor or full frame?
full frame.
Full frame, yeah.
Full frame. Full frame.
But
Full frame.
but APS-Cs are cheaper.
They are cheaper. I just don't
Yeah.
have. I only have the A7 III, which is
A7
mirrorless.
III, yeah.
So I used to have. My T5i got stolen.
What?
So, yeah, out of my car.
Oh,
So
dude. Do you
terrible.
Is that what
do
that
you
was? I mean, it had to be, right?
It was when we were going to the premiere of my first capstone. I accidentally left my car unlocked in a parking lot. When I came out, my bag was empty, and I was like,
man.
like,
That's what I feel one thing that I'm scared of. So that I'm looking into purchasing an insurance or something, because if you are filming and things like that and you have a lot of equipment, I've seen cases. Actually, I'm part of this Facebook group that does a bunch of wedding videos. Somebody's gear was stolen, and they luckily had insurance and they were able to claim that.
only insurance I have is renter's insurance, so it has to be in my apartment.
Renter's
You know,
insurance only
like,
covers your apartment.
Yeah,
But
it goes to
apparently-
the apartment. If it gets stolen in the apartment, I'm good. But if I take it out and it breaks or somebody steals it,
You could
or
always
something,
commit
I don't know.
insurance fraud.
I could. Stop the camera. Stop the camera. Zoom in.
Yeah, dude.
Keep it rolling so we can show them how smart we were. By
Yeah.
So you like anamorphic and all that?
I have never used anamorphic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So-
I've never used anamorphic before. That's why I was looking like what would be a good lens choice, because I want to switch that camera, the A7 III, into an FX3 because I need the colors to be the same with that, because that's a 10-bit and that's an 8-bit.
Mm,
And
yeah.
if I show it to you, you'll see that that's more saturated, just looks more colorful. Only if you compare it. If you compare that with another A7 III, it looks pretty much the same, you know. And I don't like the 30 minute limit on the 4K. I
Yeah.
didn't know about the 1080, so that's something.
Definitely worth double checking on that one. I
thought it-
It
you
doesn't
know-
because it overheats and it doesn't overheat on 1080, so it
Huh.
shouldn't do that. But yeah, do you shoot for any like artists around
Yeah,
town?
music video is actually what got me into doing more corporate ads and things like that. I've shot a lot of music videos for artists. I'll show you a couple if you want to see it. I love story-based stuff. That's my favorite. We spend a lot of time like talking about concepts, ideas, cinematography ideas. So I saw this film, would love to like recreate something like that. Like, how can we best, you can spend like countless hours just talking about concepts.
Yeah.
I love like concepting, coming up with a what is it called, a treatment, and then coming up with an even bigger version of that where you have like shot ideas. Like I believe in shooting 40 at it. Every time every time I shoot a wedding, it's like I get 300 gigabytes of footage. But then I do the same day edit thing where I have an hour and a half to create a 6-minute highlight reel, and I really have to know what sequences, how I'm gonna use which.
It's
So-
your own form of like artistry, and I like seeing that. That's really cool. Because like I know we have the music thing. You obviously do music thing.
Well, music is the first thing that I don't know how to even say it. I mean, I don't want to call myself one. I like to call myself more of a creative. That sounds funny to say, but I never wanted to be just one thing. And that's why I don't like to box myself into being a guitarist. But I've been playing guitar, 6 instruments for the past 10, 15 years, and I studied also music production. I produced probably thousands of songs. I did sing. I co-wrote songs for German artists that was in the top list charts, and played guitar for David Bowie's drummer.
Hey, that's sick.
Wow. That's pretty
Well, it
cool.
wasn't for him, but he came to the school where I was studying, and there was a showcase, microtonal showcase, and he was the guest drummer.
So you got to play. Okay, word.
So I
That's
got
awesome.
to play with him. Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like I played for him, but
Yeah,
I had the experience of playing with
Like,
him.
we were
Which
on
was
stage
mental.
making
Yeah, we were
sounds
stage.
together.
Yeah.
Collaborate. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, I loved it.
He was drumming, I was screaming.
Yeah,
things
that
were
was-
happening.
Things were happening, but we were doing it together.
Parts,
Yeah.
parts were moving.
Parts were moving.
People were throwing stuff.
Yeah. I got into video
Security
production
tackle,
honestly because I wanted to convey what I saw here, and I wanted to learn the language. I wanted to learn a skill, and also not pay for anybody else to do it. But then I realized then you also have to pay yourself because you got to buy the gear.
yeah. And you hate when it
Yeah.
gets
Well, it's like the
dusty
coffee
and all
machine,
that.
like you were saying. You spent
Yeah,
$800 a year on coffee, and you're like, I'm gonna get a fucking espresso machine.
Yeah.
Boom.
Same thing.
And then I think 2 years ago I studied. I got my pilot license for drones.
That's sick.
So
I crashed a drone recently.
oh really?
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know if I want to. When you crash your drone, you're technically supposed to call 2 numbers and let them.
It
know.
was inside my own apartment, so I
Great,
think
great,
I'm
great,
good.
great.
I'm like,
He's good.
He's good. He's
Inside
chilling.
apartment is
10-4,
not.
we got him.
There's so many
And
drone rules now. It's just
moving.
Oh, man,
it's so sad.
It took me like 4 months of online classes to pass that.
Yeah, you have to take a big test. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to know so much. You have to learn a lot of airport stuff. You have to learn how to read METAR.
It's kind of like when they got
Data.
angry at me for pointing a laser pointer at an airplane. They were really upset about that.
Yeah.
It was weird.
But they overreacted a bit.
Yeah.
I think they. Well, after the crash, it was a little bit more.
I
you know,
understood.
Like I understood.
I
a little
understood.
more, but I mean, I was.
But most of them survived. It
Yeah.
was. They were,
Well, this
you
is
know.
it.
Oh, it's nice. I think that's the same one.
That's the
No,
Mavic
it's not.
Air 2.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
It was we had the Mavic Air, but it wasn't.
Have you seen the new 3 Pro with the Hassan band or whatnot lens? It has a
I
ginormous
think that's the one we used.
lens with three lenses.
I think that's the one
That stuff is
crashed.
phenomenal.
That might have been yeah.
Yeah, our good friend of ours just got it delivered to him in the mail.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And
And he like he's like I tried to return it and like went back to the post office and they were like, it has your address on it, sir. And he's like, but it doesn't have my name. And he's like, it's your address, so we don't know what to tell you. We don't know where it goes. And so he got like a free like $1,500 drone. First time
Yeah,
I ever
it's
got used,
mental.
it was me crashing it.
That's wild.
you know what? I really want to get into the FPV drones. They look
Oh, yeah.
super
Yeah,
cool.
with the little headset.
You know the
Yeah.
the rule for that, you have to have a second person
Mhm.
to see the
Yeah.
drone. There's no like it's called a visual observer.
Yeah.
Visual observer. It's so funny. Aren't you observing if you're visually looking at it?
Yeah.
it's a mindset thing.
It's a mindset
Yeah.
It's a mindset thing.
It's a mindset.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how it goes.
Visually observing.
Is there a bathroom, by the way?
Yes,
I hate
sir.
interrupts.
Straight that
Just right
yep.
across?
You
Okay,
open
cool.
it. I hope there are no dogs outside, but if there are, they're nice. Yep, that's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Oh, I have so much gear here, man. If you look at back, that used to be a little booth, but I'm moving, so I had to take up all the panels.
Oh,
I have a
wow,
little like tool thing there that I have. I keep the cables and all the stats.
I wish
Green
that's
screen.
the thing about the apartment. I'm running out of space to put
Oh
stuff.
man,
like,
I feel your pain.
it's crazy. We're looking into moving into a house, so
Yeah.
gonna get some more space, gonna get some more all that. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I got the bedroom studio, and I've been rocking that for however long I've been doing this.
There is a shared co-working space that is apparently made for creatives. I think they start $200 a month, and you have access to 10 hours usage of a green screen content room and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
I need to learn more about that.
Wow, that's actually really cool.
It's
I
not
mean,
bad.
yeah.
It's not bad.
I know of a couple like creatives like studio houses and like people working out of that. I've never really taken much of a personal interest into them just because I've always had this mentality, just a big fan of doing it myself. Not because I think I'm better than anybody else, but because A, I want to learn how to do it, and B, I just like having that creative control. I think is cheaper. I think it's going to turn it into a better product at the end. It's going to be more of what you want and less of like all that. But it's also good to have checks and balances on
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff, which is
For
why
sure, I
the
agree.
duo works super well.
I agree. Your surrounding, the way you kind of set your own room helps with your creative process.
Oh,
I really like.
Feng
I use-
shui.
Feng shui.
Yeah, feng
I
shui.
mean, like in not even a funny kind of sense of the word. I mean, I took college courses on like Asian studies and East Asian
Really?
history and all that. Yeah.
Dang.
When we learned about feng shui, I was like, haha, that's funny. And then I learned like about what it was actually, and I was like, that's smart actually. But I'm just
Feng
saying
shui.
something, I'm
I
like,
used to
that's right.
have that red couch that's out there. Oh, what are you doing?
Not the gimbal motors.
Not the gimbal.
I think it died.
Oh, the
It
gimbal?
probably should. It probably didn't. One sec. Oh no, it did not. It just said, "I had
It's like,
enough."
fuck this place in particular.
One moment. What are you doing? Okay, this is what I'm gonna do.
Things were ugly.
It does, yeah.
This is what I'm gonna do.
Just gonna
I'm
walk
gonna
it.
treat it like a stand.
There we go.
See?
Yeah.
There you go. We
Yeah.
all should be in it. There you go. See? It's still recording. Fixed.
Thanks, yeah.
Yes, I used to have that thing here, and the room just felt so like crowded
Yeah.
or full, and I had to get rid of that to like make a better space where I have kind of a set going on, and I can come here and produce music, work on stuff, and record stuff here.
This place is treated very well.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I
Very
built
nice.
these.
Really?
Yeah. This I put this is rock wool, and the back is just cardboard.
Yeah.
It makes it very light,
Yeah.
and it sounds
That's
really
great,
good.
yeah.
If without it, it doesn't sound very good.
Yeah.
I made these, but these are I think my favorite. Looks cool,
Yeah.
and these are not heavy. These have like wood sides and
Uh,
rock wool, so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited because I have a crap ton of building material now. Because where I used to live at another place, and my friend took over, we built a big booth, and it had like a lot of rock wool and stuff. And he's moving, and I get to have all of that material.
yeah.
I'm moving to my dad's for like 6 months with my fiance because we're trying to save some money before we buy a place.
Yeah.
And I'm building a little like live room there. And the place where I can mix and work on stuff. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited. I got into learning about
Mhm.
soundproofing
Yeah.
years ago, and now I'm like, thank God, because now you don't have to hire anybody.
Yeah.
You just
That's
have
fair.
to. You just have to get the material. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think you need like a 5/8 of an inch drywall, and then you put the wooden things, and you put the rock wool in it. You close it, and then and this is so that the sound doesn't go through it.
Yeah.
and then you treat the other side with rock wool to suck in the sound. Just like you think about absorption and what's the other word? When it doesn't go through it.
I would imagine that's absorption.
Is it absorption? Absorbing the sound?
Yeah, it absorbs
Yeah.
it.
There's another word.
I think I know what you're
It's not like deadening.
Yeah, there's the deadening, and
Yeah.
I thought that was absorption.
Yeah,
So
kind
like
of.
if I play here, they don't hear it,
Yeah.
but the room sound doesn't also suck.
Yeah, no, that would be absorption, deadening. I don't know. There's probably people that are gonna correct us.
Yeah.
Like these guys are
Probably,
fucking dumb.
Let us know in the
probably,
comments.
whatever. Let me know. Bash us. Yeah. I don't know. So, what do you guys have going on nowadays? What are you excited about?
Man, we're excited about a ton of stuff. We're building out our content platforms a lot more. Looking at YouTube, and do you know? It kind of depends on what stuff I can say. Do you know when this might be out?
So actually, and this part might be cut out.
That's fine.
And so the idea is I want to have 12 episodes at least,
Uh-huh.
and each episode, they're not like I don't have a list yet, so I have to look at what makes sense. But I'm gonna put one episode out every week, and every episode will have short form content. So like when we talk about cameras, that will be a snapshot, like a minute long. When we
Mhm.
talk about working out, that'll be like
Yeah.
it'll have multiple things that draws back. So I'm all
Yeah.
about reusing short form content to get, and that'll take me some time, but I'm gonna try to use some AI tools or something to help me because you got to have good tools to lessen the time. So it will start. I'm gonna start putting these things out starting from middle April. So and I will have probably around 3 months worth of content.
Okay. Cool. Well,
So maybe keep it evergreen.
should we talk about the new thing yet? Probably not.
Probably not. I
Okay,
would
yeah.
say
Well,
no.
then, as of now, we're not going to talk about it. But we have a lot of like new content stuff coming.
Okay.
Definitely keep up to people that are listening. Keep up with our Instagram and stuff because that's where you're going to see all of it being talked about, and you'll be able to find links for all the cool stuff we're doing. But so we're really revamping our content game. It's something we're super proud of already. That we feel like the content we make is very high quality, and we're very consistent with it. But we're kind of introduce a couple new things in regards to how people can reach us and connect with us on a more personal level, and how we can give back to our supporters. I think that we have so many fans that give us all of this love, and we've been trying to figure out, hey, how can we love them back without just releasing music? You know what I mean? So we finally kind of figured that stuff out. So definitely, to the listeners, go look at our Instagram because a lot of this stuff it might be live by the time this is out. It kind of depends on the timing, I suppose. But we're also looking to start that second record. We're in the process of it now, kind of figuring out, hey, are we going to, whatever we're producing now, are we taking this to a demo phase and then we go bring in a secondary producer? Or are we going to go ahead and take this all the way home and put out, what we're producing? Kind of just depends. We're figuring that stuff out. We're looking to tour through this summer and this fall, support some artists on tours, which we're excited for. And we're also looking to headline our own tour. So this year's going to be big. We released our first song, so we became publicly known from music in August of 2023. So in regards to where we're at in our music career, we're super, super young in it. And we only got the last 4 months and really last 3 months of 2023 to grow the way we did. And we're super proud of the growth that we had. So this year, we're just excited to keep that going, keep finding new rooms, surrounding ourselves with better people, keep on making the best music we possibly can. And the big thing, like I was mentioning, is we're excited to connect with fans on such a new personal level, to where it's I think oftentimes there's just this natural disconnect when you don't know somebody, or when you know somebody from a screen, you don't really know them. And by touring and by some of the new content that we're going to begin putting out towards the end of the spring, beginning of the summer, we're really going to capitalize on the opportunity to connect with our fans on a personal level. So that is so exciting to us. We're hey, it's about time. We're gonna create a community that no other artists have, and it's everyone talks about it join the family. No, that's really what this is about to be, and we're so excited for that. So between all the new music, all the touring, and connecting with fans, they're our family and they're our friends because they support us through what we love more than anything. So to us, they're the most important human beings in the world. That's it. That's this year. damn, I'm
Awesome.
excited, man. It's gonna be awesome.
I love it because you guys seem very authentic
Thank you,
and
brother.
very caring.
Thank you, man.
And I think that's very important to be truthful as an artist and really give value and seek for real connections.
Yeah, man.
You know, I think that on the long run will bring better success.
Thank you, brother. Yeah,
You know.
the goal is to connect, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, and we've talked about all of these other interests, and we haven't really touched too much on music.
We can always do a take two. You know?
I know, right? No. It's great. I'm glad that we talked on all of that stuff because it's that's the side of us that we want people to see, and it's like if you guys are listening to this podcast and you're hearing, oh wow, there's a lot more to these two than just music, and I really love the fighting stuff. I love the camera stuff. I love what I'm picking up here. Then you're gonna love more about the new content we're gonna make. But with music, like I was saying earlier, I believe that God made me to make music and connect with people like that. I believe that God made Preston to do the same thing. I believe God made us to fit together and do that stuff together. And that opportunity to create authentically and use that creation to really, truly connect. Like that's everything. So we believe in success in this endeavor, undeniably so. But what we live for, what we love, is recognizing success is based on how, like, are we able to connect with people? Can we really connect with them? Not just can I preach and will you listen and appreciate it? Can I connect with you? And like the fact that we're really finding our stride and figuring out how to do that on a deeper level, and it's only gonna get better. I mean, that's so beyond exciting. It's like that's what we believe our life purpose is. Through all this other stuff that we love and we use it to facilitate that connection and that creation, that's great. But what the purpose is, why we're here. It's like, let's connect with these people, man. That's it.
That's the main reason I got into music. I love to connect with people,
Yeah,
giving my energy back and promoting happiness and
If your words can change one person's day, then like that's it, man. That's everything.
I can't forget the moment when I play guitar for my grandma and she cried.
Yeah, man.
It's like that's why I do it. Or like
man.
you work on a song or a video to somebody and like that is perfect.
Yeah,
like
man.
Yes, it's great to make a living on what you do, but to know that it moved people,
Yeah.
it's very fulfilling.
Oh, I'd live out of a box if people would still listen when I sing. I mean, like it's for it to bring us enough financial stability to have a roof over our heads, feed the dog, be the hero that Gotham deserves, whatever.
And that's a mentality
That's
too. Like what's the purpose? If people are doing this to make money, or I want to give value with what I do, and that will follow. The other thing will follow.
Definitely.
The
It's
same
like,
thing
it's
what I
not
said
fake,
about
man.
working out. You work out to live well, to
Yeah.
be functional. You will
Society
look
result.
Yeah,
better.
If your goal is I want to just make money from making music, then you will make money, but you'll make money for a couple of years, and then people will fall off because they won't care because you're not being authentic about the message. But if your goal is to connect, then it doesn't matter what else comes. Whatever your goal is, I would hope that you are a person that will work hard enough to achieve your goal, and you got to make sure those goals are true and that those goals are rewarding to your soul as a human being. So it's like your goal needs to be connect, share love, spread love, and help people feel. Whether it's feeling less alone because you've been through that tough stuff and you don't want them to feel like that, or whether it's just being able to guide them through tough stuff because you recognize the importance of hardships and things like that. That if your goal is money, you'll get money, man, but you won't last and you won't feel happy.
Yeah, the
That happiness
sustainability
won't
is
come.
not going to be there.
Yeah, man.
Building truly a real thing will take time,
Yeah, man.
effort, trial, error, being okay with failure,
And that's the thing.
giving yourself grace,
Yeah.
and things like that.
When the goal is connecting with people, it's like if it's money, well then you are in your head you are failing until you make enough to pay rent. But if it's connecting with people, the second I connect with one person, I'm doing it. Now I just want to do it with more people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no feeling of failure when you want to connect with people because once you do it just once, you've already succeeded. Now you just get to do it again on a larger scale. I remember just out of COVID, I had played like live before where I did like 2-hour cover gigs when I was like 14 and stuff
Dang.
like that. And like it was just like at like charity events of like family, friends, and stuff like that. But like nothing great, you know what I mean? Like not like I was on stage and like I did theater growing up and stuff like that, but nothing like nothing close to like real gigging and not my original music. And I did it like maybe 3 times, but I would it probably 1 or 2 of them was busing and just going out on a street corner. But then out of COVID, a guy that I had looked up to for years because he was a skinny guy with glasses and hair that I thought was cool, and he had a little Martin like I did, and he had a loop pedal like Ed Sheeran. I thought he was so cool. His name's Trevor Douglas. Trevor, I love you. I had been a fan of his for years and years and years, and he was just on the local scene in Dallas at the time, and he invited me to do a show with an organization called NAMI, which is a mental health organization. It was NAMI North Texas, so it obviously does it all through North Texas, and it was March of 2021, so we just come out of the pandemic in Texas. At least we had come out of in Texas. It didn't even last through 2021. We were all like, we're good. But I went to do that, and a little bit before I accepted it, and I said yes, I'll do this. And then a couple days, just about a week before, I went to go play that show, which would have been my first time, like actually playing out there. Like it's gonna be live stream, it's gonna be on TV, all this stuff. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. And I had lost a couple friends who had taken their own lives growing up, which was tough.
Ooh.
And then a couple days, about a week prior, my cousin had taken his own life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It is what it is. And I took that energy, and I was just coping. I wrote a song to kind of handle that, just because I'd had bad thoughts before, and I'd lost a lot of people, and I wasn't angry. It was like I knew how to deal with it mentally. But like I spent so much time kind of doing damage control with the rest of the family, especially because a lot of them hadn't lost anybody like that. And for me, it was number like 6 or 7, and I was like, I've been in this world. So to me, like what helped me cope was to do this damage control. As I did that for a couple of days, finally I sat down like 3-4 days afterwards, and sat down. And I just wrote the song. I just kind of spit it out. And then I just had this feeling deep inside. It was like, hey man, you should play that one at this event. You should definitely play that one. And nobody had heard it. And I didn't know if it was good, but I was like, to me, God was saying, do this song. And at this time, I had a couple fights already, and Preston had gone back to school, and like music was not necessarily like a distant dream, but it was my whole life I thought it was music, and that was the point in my life where I was the furthest from that thought. I still believed that it was music, but for the first time in my life I thought there might be something else too in fighting. And I wrote that song, and I felt so compelled to perform it and sing it and share it with people. And I went up on stage, and I was so nervous, and even up to that point, I feel like that's the first time my voice ever really sounded good. I was drinking like 12 bottles of water. I peed like 9 times before 10 a.m. Like I was just nervous, which was weird because I've never gotten stage fright. I've never been like that. Like that's where I feel very calm and very happy. So, but it was weird. I was nervous to get on stage for that. It was interesting because it was literally, you could see the gym I trained at from that. It was like on the front porch of a house because there was still a lot of stuff was shut down. So it was like you couldn't have a venue, but people could gather outside. So I was on the front porch of a house. I could see the gym that I was training at, and it felt like I had these like 2 opposing dreams. And I got up there and I played 2-3 songs, and then the last song I was like, hey guys, I just wrote this song, and I was like, I remember having this feeling, this word come across my mind that you couldn't convince me was anything but God, that just said, speak. It was just speak and just tell this story. Like, don't say, I've lost people, blah, blah, blah. Talk about what happened. Explain what happened. Hey, I lost my cousin a little less than a week ago. He has a 15-month-old son. This has hit my family so incredibly hard. I've lost a lot of people, but this one definitely feels different. And I spoke on that, and everybody outside they were such a respectful audience already, but they really just locked in and got quiet. And I started to play that song, and I never lacked confidence being on stage because I felt like it was what I was supposed to do. But through those other 2 or 3 songs, it wasn't that I lacked confidence, but I was definitely focusing on what I was playing. You know what I mean? You're not really looking up to. I'm trying to make eye contact, smile at people, and stuff like that. And then I play that song, and it was like my fingers couldn't miss a note. My voice was the best it had ever been. Not like it was necessarily a difficult song to sing, but I looked around in the audience and just did not stop moving my head and just making eye contact with every single person in that audience. And I saw like a wave through every lyric and every person I looked at. I saw this wave of people just begin to cry and connect.
Wow.
And it was like I felt in my heart, in my veins, in my everything for the first time. I knew it would happen one day, but I felt it in that moment. This just made a difference. What I said, playing this song here, showing this to people, telling this story, you know, and that was outside of the TV, that was outside of the Facebook Live and all that stuff. It was what was in front of me, what I could see and what I could feel in the air was so important, and it mattered so much. And I in that moment, everything made sense. And it wasn't that bad things in life happened so that I could have that moment. It wasn't like that, but it was like I found my purpose in the pain, and I understood how I was supposed to handle it, and I understood that how I was supposed to handle it as I had spent days doing damage control trying to make my family feel better, and that was what helped me. When I looked out to strangers and I watched grown men crying and holding their daughter's hand and squeezing extra hard, and knowing that I didn't know any other stories, but I could feel it. And I could feel that it connected so deeply, and I by the end of the song I'm crying a little bit, and just I've to this day I've never felt quite like that. And I was so at peace, and I remember getting off stage and having strangers come up to me, and I was a nobody, and I still am, but it definitely there. I was telling you when I was a fighter, I didn't say I was a musician. I had strangers, grown men, little girls, everybody, and they came up to me and individually, they didn't say, "Hey, I really love that song." They looked at me and they grabbed my hand, they looked deep in my eyes, and they said, "Thank you."
Wow.
And that right there was this like moment of, through everything else that I loved, and that was one of the key factors to when months later Jeff asked me, "Hey, which one would you give up?" I said I'd never fight again in a heartbeat. It wouldn't even
Wow.
it wouldn't be hard. Because I thought back to those eyes and those looks and those handshakes, and I was like, man, this is it. This is everything.
That's your calling.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one could change my mind on that. I was like, God come down and try to tell me himself. I think it was the devil.
Dang.
There's nothing else. But that moment right there was
wow.
It was next level. So as we've been talking through this whole thing about being able to connect with people, especially as we're saying, hey, I want to connect with fans and supporters and stuff like that. It feels weird to call them fans because they're, what
supporters.
they give to us is what they give to us is different. You know what I mean?
People, yeah.
But it's with that. It's I feel like for me and Preston and I do so much together and speak as this too so much. But I'll speak for me in this sense. It's like I know that I'm chasing that feeling on a worldwide stage, and I'm like I watched this change strangers' lives, and I want to do that again. And I feel like we're finally finding. Well, I feel like we're finally finding the path that leads to that. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's going to happen tomorrow, but I think we're finally finding our footing to where it's like, oh, if we keep down this part of this path, that's where we're going. We've had a little bit of doubling back. We've had a couple, I don't want to say wrong turns, but learning experiences for sure.
I get you, yeah.
And now we're kind of hitting that point. But I think about that moment all the time. And as we're building this next phase of this too, where the goal is connect and change lives, it's not to be preachy by any sense of the word. It's just to be authentic and show people like, hey, you can come out the other end of whatever bad thing you are facing, and whether you need to hear the advice I heard a couple months later that was nobody gives a fuck, or you need to hear the advice of you will be okay, I've been there. We want to be there to provide that and connect and do that stuff, because man, this is special. And the blessing that is the ability to share this stuff and the ability to create and the ability to connect is never lost on me, and I know it's never lost on him either.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, man.
That was
Yeah,
very
man.
deep. I would have to
Oh, that was
think.
that was incredible.
that was.
I mean,
Soundbite.
It's just so important in that, and I do chase that feeling on a worldwide stage, but I think it mainly comes for me personally from the sense that I think people take feeling emotions and feeling things. I think they take that for granted sometimes, or people try to avoid it because they're like, I don't like this feeling. It's not real. But the second you hear something that makes you start to cry, I think that's such a beautiful and important emotion and a feeling and an action as an artist and a creative to be able to make something so raw and so real that it gets across to someone who can take that in and apply it to themselves. Then you've done your job. And yeah, I mean, doing that on a worldwide stage, I mean, that is the goal and the biggest thing, to just say to the most amount of people, you are not alone, you are okay, and it's okay to feel these things. Cry if you want to, scream if you want to, do all these things. Yeah. And I
it
think
will
people
happen, man.
sometimes take it for granted or avoid it. And I think that's just not going to serve you well.
Wow.
No,
Thank you.
I feel like there's no better end point than that either. Like, that's kind of that about sums
Oh,
up
I don't know how I sneak in. Where can people find you?
Yeah.
You guys,
Where can people find you?
you guys can find us, anywhere you can find people online at This2Official, THIS, the number 2, the word official. And you can find us on Instagram there. You can find us on Twitter or X or whatever it is. You can find us on
X.
you can find us on YouTube. You can, if you find our Instagram, you'll find links to pretty much everything.
Okay.
So I would say definitely find us on Instagram at This2Official, and then check us out on whatever your favorite streaming platform is, whether that's Apple Music or whether that's Spotify. Just This2. It's all caps.
All caps.
All caps. It's
All
very
caps.
important.
I like the name. It's
all
cool.
caps.
This
Thank
too.
you. Yeah.
That's cool.
I
like it.
There's definitely a story with that, but maybe we'll save that for another time.
Oh, that'll have to be an episode 2 with
Let's do
y'all
it.
then.
Let's do it, man.
You know, never know.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh,
brother.
thank
It
you
really
for
means a lot.
coming. Both of you
Yeah,
guys'
thank you,
stories are incredible.
Thank you, brother. It really
I
means a lot.
love you guys' chemistry.
Thank you, man.
I love how you guys speak with knowledge and experience
Thank you,
from
brother.
what you guys doing. I really can tell both of you guys' passion to what you individually and together you do.
Thank you, brother.
And I thank you both I thank you that you came here.
Well, thank you for
Share
giving us a
your
chance, man.
thoughts.
Good.
I still have a lot of thoughts, but we can't go on.
I know.
For
I
5
was
hours.
like, we've got. We'll save it for another episode.
Yeah.
We'd love to come back. Sometime.
I always have a lot of questions and thoughts.
I appreciate your
Yeah,
chemistry with coffee.
I was gonna say, yeah, man. Whatever questions you got, write them down. And next time on episode 2, we'll go through that.
Send me all socials. I do
Definitely.
want to link them down. I do want to do the
Definitely,
hashtags and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So, alrighty. Thank you so much. That was it. I was
Thank
Danny
you,
Nagy
guys.
from Cafe Creatives with this dude.
Thank you, guys.
Boom.
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 I'll show you.